Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. It's clobbering time, everybody. And I thought it would be fun to do my character, the Patriarch, and Brian's character, Six Gun Gorilla. Like, we got the people that are making the comics here to battle it. So it's not going to get personal or anything. Call each other names. But I thought it would be fun. And we got T-Bunny showing up at the last possible second. That was funny. It showed up with 2 seconds to spare. Now, first off, full disclosure, I made up the character of the Patriarch. It's my comic. Of course, I'm biased. You know, I'm human. Brian, did you make Six Gun Gorilla?
Hey, there he is.
No. I did not. Oh, what's up? What's up, Bunny? Yeah, no. What happened was I was browsing a website about Golden Age superheroes and pulp heroes because I got a thing for them, right? And I'm looking at all these names, very, very obscure characters, and I see one, and it slaps me in the face hard. Six Gun Gorilla. I'm just like, okay, I have to read this. I have to. Then I discovered that it had been out of print for, about 70 years or so?
70 years.
And, yeah, because it was released, I think, in
it's almost
1970, 1956, I think. It's very old, and there are only 2 copies of the story left in existence, and they were both under lock and key in a museum in England. And I remember very vividly, this never happens to me. I hopped in my car, I went for a drive to my favorite junk food place to console myself. I wasn't going to be able to read Six Gun Gorilla, right? And I have the Hawk the Slayer soundtrack. You guys ever seen Hawk the Slayer?
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. I'm listening to that, and I'm like rocking out to it on the drive. And by the time I park, I had the entire saga. I had the entire story.
Nice.
And that never happens. That never happens.
And it's never happened again.
I'll introduce
Never again.
Buddy in a second, but I just want to ask you one question. You said it's under lock and key in England. Is Six Gun Gorilla a British character?
Yes.
Or it is.
Yes. It was a short story. Here's another interesting thing. They don't know who wrote it.
Oh, maybe he wrote it himself. He's self-aware.
Yeah. Well,
let me introduce you. We got Marcus Kellegrew over here. How you doing, Marcus?
I got a haircut.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm trying to send you that image, by the way.
And T-Bunny, how you doing? Cooper, you're on mute. Unmute yourself.
What's up?
How you doing, Cooper? You still muted. Cooper's muted.
I'm doing good.
Mel, he also might not have his mic plugged in. I've had that happen to me on occasion.
Is this a trick question? Isn't the Patriarch Superman level? I will answer that question once we get started.
That's a very good question.
I remember everything.
Because his power isn't what you think it is.
Right. So anyway, it's clobbering time. I subscribe to the Jim Shooter, Jack Kirby, Stan Lee method that every video is somebody's first video. So if anybody had stumbled across this, we do this every Friday at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. We take 1 or 2 characters and we pretend that we're little kids in the comic book store. Yeah. Spider-Man can beat up Batman, having fun like that. It's supposed to be fun. Nobody takes it seriously. Nobody gets their feelings hurt. And then we usually pick our champions. Well, we know who I'm going to pick. We know who Brian's going to pick. So Cooper.
Now you know.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God! Don't go making assumptions.
Oh, I did. I assumed. I made an ass out of it.
No. Because everybody has like their own theory, right? Like for instance, and like one of the greatest what ifs ever, right? What if Wolverine killed the Hulk? Right? He stabs him in the throat. And he's like, "Yeah, I thought that'd be a soft spot." Right? So, or what if he went in through his ear or through his eyeball? That's what's so much fun about these conversations and why you enjoyed them as a kid and you enjoy them more as an adult because you appreciate them, right? And how much fun they are and how much they make you feel like a kid again.
I don't know if Brian knows my rule, but either everybody gets prep time or nobody gets prep time. The whole prep time argument is, Batman could beat Galactus with prep time. Yeah, we'll soak in the thing. Yeah, so
right. Yeah, it's got to be a match, right? Like an organized, they need to be in the octagon.
Right. So Cooper, let's see. First off, good to see you, Cooper. Cooper has his own channel, Telepathic Funny channel.
Yes.
Hello.
You do the studies. You just did a character autopsy of Doc Savage. Yes, he is a Mary Sue. I didn't see the end of that. What was your conclusion for that? Coop?
He's not a Mary Sue. He's just like the most amazing dude ever.
He is a
Right.
He's not quite a Mary Sue because he does have some blind spots and he does have some weaknesses. But the weakness is pretty much that he's such a good guy he can't see people's badness until it's too late.
His weakness is he's too perfect.
So,
his virtue. Yeah. The man of bronze.
Yeah. So pretty much.
I'm sorry, Cooper. I'll let you talk because I'm like a Doc Savage freak.
I just finished the first novel. I enjoyed it.
Is it great?
Yeah,
that moment in the beginning where like the sniper is like he's like looking for Doc, and he's just like he sees this bronze bust, right? And then it starts moving, and he realizes that that's Doc.
I'm drawing a Doc Savage. I've drawn Doc Savage.
I'll be starting
awesome
the second
character.
Yeah,
So
it really is a lot of fun.
underutilized.
So,
all we got was that George Powell movie, which unfortunately left a lot to be desired. And to me, I'm baffled that there's never been another Doc Savage movie. That character is awesome.
Didn't Ron Eli Doc Savage?
Yeah, that was the.
Well, they're trying
George
to make
Powell.
one with The Rock.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
I certainly hope it never happens.
They can't make them now. Everybody goes and sees these characters. It's like the John Carter Mars problem. Oh, they did that in Star Wars. Oh, they did that already, even though John Carter did it first.
right.
Well, that's
And
why
it's
we've
just
never gotten
kinda
a good Doctor Doom, is because they're afraid that people are going to go,
right.
Doctor Doom? Wait, that's a ripoff of Darth Vader.
Right. That's the same idea. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And now they can't put Darkseid in the movie because he's going to be ripped off of Thanos.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. Like people don't understand that. I mean, that was always one of the joyous things about Marvel and DC when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You know, these writers would hang out and they would steal from each other.
Yeah.
But they would like do it in a creative way. Oh, you got a speedster? I got a speedster. Right? Oh, you've got like a group of misfits? I've got a group of misfits. But then you've got the Doom Patrol and the X-Men are completely different. They're just kind of like
you know that
springboarding
Deathstroke
off of
guy?
each other's ideas.
That Deathstroke guy just completely ripped off Deadpool. You know that, right?
Oh God!
Yeah, that
Oh,
Deathstroke guy
man.
completely ripped off Deadpool. I mean, completely.
Oh God!
Yeah.
It's really well. Look, the costume is basically kind
Wade
of
Wilson instead of Wade Wilson. Come on now.
What about
Yeah, I know.
what was the
Well, also Deathstroke, the Terminator. I mean, like how many names does that one character have?
they have that character by Ditko? I was
Yeah.
watching the Steve Ditko thing yesterday with Mark Ditko
Yeah,
on his channel. And there was a character that Ditko came up with, and you know that Liefeld had to see that character.
Which character?
Oh, I'm trying to remember. I have to look it up. I'll figure it out. I
Because
forgot.
I'm starting to realize that my favorite Ditko character is Killjoy.
That's the one. Killjoy.
Killjoy is.
That's it. Killjoy.
It's prophetic. It's awesome.
Is the one that Liefeld may have seen.
And speaking of favorite characters, I got to show this. Here's a spoiler. Check this out.
Oh, you're the worst.
Oh yes, Count.
Spoiler.
What was that cat's name? Count
Dante.
Damien?
Yeah. Count Dante.
So this is
Count Dante.
This is going to be an ad. He's joined the Memphis King Fighting Society. You know, you two could learn the fighting styles of the Tennessee Dragon himself.
Hey, there is a story about the king actually like coming to a guy's aid, a guy who was getting mugged in an alleyway, and he came to the rescue and did a little bit of his karate, and the guy didn't realize who it was until he saw it was like literally Elvis. And he
was doing kata.
Literally gave him
on
his watch
stage.
because that was the thing that Elvis would do. People would be like, "Man, that's a nice watch." You're like, "Oh, here, it's yours." So maybe
he was doing kata on stage while he was doing his act in Vegas. He was doing kata.
katas. Yeah, no, the king would fuck you up.
So I'm thinking maybe we'll actually make like the Memphis King Fighting Society membership cards.
That's fucking beautiful, man. That is beautiful. I love it.
I got a laminator, but anyway, that's DC Miller.
I got a laminator.
It's awesome.
You got a 3D printer. You got a laminator.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Go wire up a light bulb. You know.
So let's start with T-Bunny. T-Bunny. Again, everybody knows the rule. This is all good fun. Who would you like to pick as your champion? That we got the Patriarch. We got Six Gun Gorilla, and I saw you have both comics, so you're a good choice to talk about this.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna have to go with Six Gun Gorilla. Believe it or not.
So you're going to champion Six Gun Gorilla. So before we go any further, tell us about Six Gun Gorilla.
The character?
Six Gun Gorilla.
I mean, it's easy for me and you to talk about it. You know what I mean? So I figured Marcus and T-Bunny would tell us about it.
Yeah, okay.
Well, Six Gun Gorilla was a young gorilla that was taken out of his homeland and kind of put into a traveling circus going across the Wild West. I don't believe I couldn't find his name. I don't think they ever really gave him a name, did they?
Oh no, he does have one. Kumba. It means roar in Swahili. Okay. Yeah, I actually named him after a childhood toy.
But
I had a little like plush gorilla when I was a little boy, and yeah, so that's like a little thing to do.
Cool. Well,
sorry,
one of the things that he was known for was oh, no problem. They taught him to shoot very accurately, and the guns that he was able to wield, because he's a big ass gorilla, were massive. They're like 50 caliber pistols, and
more like howitzers.
And so he was. There you go, howitzers, right?
Howitzers, like literal howitzer cannons. Yeah.
Oh yeah, if you've seen a 50 caliber pistol, I mean, those things are
yeah.
Massive.
So this is like even bigger. Yeah.
Right.
It's like 250 cals.
Yeah. Right. But he the only like father he's ever known is the guy who was the master of the circus, and his daughter was like his sister, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he is murdered by this marauding group that was trying to get him to like sell out to them, and he wouldn't. And so they came back, and while Kumba was trapped in the cage, they murdered everybody. And so he breaks out of that cage, and he goes on a, shall we say, revenge tour on this book here, the one I have.
Yeah.
The
Vengeance.
Yeah. Learn sign language.
Yeah. Learn sign language. Right. And so he was pretty much cutting a bloody swath across the West, and became a legend in the, kind of in annals of history. But you got a gorilla. If you've ever seen what a gorilla is capable of physically, and have one that's carrying around 50 caliber pistols, if you ever see 50 caliber pistols, we're not talking about somebody that's not going to do some damage.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he shoots somebody and they pretty much were missing their chest.
Right. They had specially forged guns for the exhibition that a normal person can't wield.
Yep. The ones that, because if you've ever seen a gorilla's hands up close, they're massive. And of course, they're all muscle. 500 pounds. They could bench press a car easy. Yeah. They literally have the strength of 10 men. Yeah.
Right? A chimpanzee could mess up a
Oh yeah. And they're like at least like 3-4 times the size of a chimp.
And chimpanzee's mean too. Gorillas aren't always mean.
What kind of gorilla is he?
Oh, what kind of a gorilla is he? Okay.
I think it's a mountain
silverback version, or if I should give you the secret version. Oh, I'm sorry. Was that directed to Cooper?
Oh no. I just said I think he's like a mountain gorilla, and maybe a silverback. Is that what they're called?
Yes.
Okay.
And one of my alternate titles for this that I kind of like copyrighted it under is silverback. So if the Six Gun Gorilla name ever becomes an issue, I can just print it as silverback and still call him Six Gun Gorilla in the book. But here's the thing. The whole concept really, and I'm surprised at how few people get this, which makes me happy, okay? But a handful full of people do get it. It's Tarzan in reverse.
Yeah.
Right. Oh,
I
that makes
love me
sense.
some
Right.
Tarzan. Holy shit, do I love me some Tarzan.
I read the first 2 Tarzan novels. They are surprisingly good.
They're very good. They're
The
very
first
good.
one is a page turner. It's exactly what you expect. The second one threw me for a loop because he's a French Foreign Legion spy.
Yes, yes.
I got to get to the third one now, see how that goes. But yes, I agree. This is I thought of that. This is Tarzan in reverse.
They're not all great. You like I would cherry pick, right? Tarzan the Invincible is really good. Tarzan the Terrible, I think, is maybe one of
the goddess
and then there's one with Tarzan and
times or 6-armed gorilla. There you go.
But yeah, he's actually this is the secret. So only the people here watching on John's Long Box are going to know the secret, and everybody, I know I can promise you to keep your lips buttoned. He's not a gorilla. He's Manjani.
Yeah. I figured that.
He's Manjani. He's one of Tarzan's people.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Because the Manjani are described as being really intelligent apes. They're not gorillas.
I was going to ask you
like
that.
them.
I was going to ask you, is there a supernatural element or anything like that? Because he's obviously too smart for a gorilla. But I was wondering, is this just a conceit that we buy for the concept of the comic, or is there something that? But you just revealed it, so I didn't even get to.
Yeah. I leave. Well, here's the thing. That's the sort of thing that, as a writer, you need to know. The audience doesn't need to know, but you need to know. And I left his origins vague on purpose, right? Where his sister Abigail is like, yeah, I mean, he's a gorilla, but evidently everything I've been able to find out about these creatures, they're not like him. They're not reading books. They're not blazing through Dickens, right? In the Bible, right? Because that's the other thing too, is that he's a Catholic. He's raised in the faith of his adopted father, right? Yeah. Professor Malloy. Professor in quotation marks, of course, because he's just a total hustler.
And also, did you create all of the secondary characters? I mean, I obviously never read the original Six Gun Gorilla story.
Everything except the title.
Okay.
Because and here's the thing too. I should mention that Some Kind Soul, this is after like the books have come out, right? Actually went to that museum and scanned. They let him scan the story, and it's available. You can find it online as like a free downloadable PDF.
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah, and it is fun. It is fun, and it has some pretty cool illustrations too. But yeah, also author or authors unknown. Nobody's credited.
So now we got to ask the question: who?
Yeah, they don't know
a gorilla or a Protestant chimpanzee?
I mean, I was raised Protestant. I was raised Lutheran, but I've always been fascinated by Catholicism, the Catholic Church.
I got a bone to pick with you Lutherans. Okay, bro. Superman does all these good deeds, and you guys go out and worship Lex Luthor. That's just
different Luther. Different Luther.
Okay.
Luther. Yeah.
I made that joke in a bar once when a guy was talking about
that was one of your. You made that joke in a bar, and that was one of your fist fights. Then
that almost. This close.
Did Six Gun Gorilla ever face AR orangutan? By the way,
what's that?
No, that didn't happen because
I knew that was planned at
one word.
Oh,
politics.
Politics.
Gotcha. What happened? I missed it. What did you say?
There was a planned Six Gun Gorilla AR-15 orangutan because Mo Biggs came up with AR-15 orangutan basically to snap on me, right? And then it took on a life of its own. And then like we're talking about having a crossover, and I was game for it. It would have been fun, right? And unfortunately, it didn't happen because politics.
Now, when you say he's snapping on you, like, was it a mean-spirited thing or
no?
It's Mo Biggs. Mo Biggs just he dogs on everybody.
Yeah. That's look, we're males, right?
Right.
Women generally don't understand this, but the way we show each other affection is we bust each other's balls.
Yeah.
Right. That's how men show affection.
I say that at work as a construction worker. If anybody's polite to you, you know that they don't like you.
They don't like you.
Right,
They don't like
exactly.
you.
Yup.
I have a lot of people that are polite to me at work.
Just today, I put up a Renzo drew a sketch a stretch goal card of the Peacekeeper, and Oscar, or I forget if it was Oscar or Daniel, colored it, and people were like, "Oh, tell me about this character." And why can't it? Punt Comics has a character called the Globalist who has a very so he's already been reaching out to me. We should do a collaboration. We should do. I was like, let me get a couple comics under my belt first, you know.
Right.
Yeah, but the Peacekeeper and the Globalist, that sounds like Bernie Sanders' wet dream of a comic.
I will say that the Peacekeeper is a good guy. He's just naive, you know. That's
he'd have to be naive to wear the UN's crest on his chest, so.
Right.
Although we don't know how the UN is in John's world.
Oh, it's exactly the same.
Okay, then you're
right. I think somebody in the chat was getting mad at me. I'm like, dude, there's good guys and there's bad guys in the world. You know what I mean? That's half the fun is figuring out. But anyway,
yeah.
So I'm proud of you, Brian, for taking a public domain character and you didn't make him a murderer or a hack and slash like Steamboat Willie or Winnie the Pooh. No. I find that to be the lowest common denominator.
Yes.
Going, look, Winnie the Pooh is now public domain. Winnie the Pooh slasher, Popeye the Slayer.
I was going to do Winnie the Pooh porn comic, and you know I had to stop.
Winnie the porn.
Here's the thing. What I want, I never intended this to be my thing. I never intended this to be my thing.
Out of my head.
But
it is now.
I never intended this to be my thing. But when you've been writing for like 30 years, you just sort of discover your thing. And my thing, this wasn't my intention, is to take a really sort of ridiculous concept and tell a very serious story with it.
Oh, yeah.
And so I approached this with a sense of sincerity and heart because I'm at that age now where if your shit doesn't have heart, I disinvest.
Yeah.
Right? And if it's insincere, because so many comics these days, they're always winking at you. Right? Get it?
Yeah.
I wanted to, and I realized, like, I wanted to play this poker faced. Because also that's more fun, right? Like I love the old Hammer horror movies, and they're sacred to me, right? And one of the things that makes those movies so much fun and why they're so great to this day is because even when you have the most outlandish scenarios, the actors are bringing it.
Yes,
and
they take it to 11. They always take everything to 11.
Yes.
I got to agree with you, Brian. That one of my pet peeves is when and Marvel started doing it. And again, I got to remind everybody, I quit reading Marvel and DC in 2015, so I imagine it's worse now.
Oh,
the writer would understand that this is either a bad trope, it's a bad idea, or something, and then the character would acknowledge it as if that excuses the bad writing. It just. You know, if you pull in the reader out of the story, making him aware of the story, you don't
want that to happen even for 1 second.
Only Deadpool.
I'm always very, very detail oriented before my books go out, especially making sure that there's not a single typo, because you're drawing the reader into your world, right? You're getting them to invest, and you don't want so much as a hiccup if you can help it, right? Because you don't want anything that's going to suddenly take them out of that world, and then they're going to have to actually make a little bit of an effort to go back.
Like doing it on purpose. Doing it on purpose, that's a different story. And like I said, only Deadpool could get away with it, and the Watcher. The Watcher is allowed to reference the audience because that's
right.
I gotta say, Garfield Great Adventure gifted 5 long box membership. Wow, I didn't even know I had memberships. I got to look into what this means.
Super chatter of the year, by the way. Super chatter of the freaking year.
I'm the worst when it comes to YouTube. I just use it as a way to talk to people about comics,
That's cool. Yeah. It's good for that.
Yeah. It's like live action Batman series. The actor seriousness elevated the show. Yeah. And Oscar and I just did an art show. Oscar is the colorist for Mary Sue. He's also coloring half the cards, and Oscar is going to be the writer of half.
Oh,
artist.
Oscar is the colorist, and I'm not supposed to say it. Oscar, you did an awesome job, Oscar. I did see it. I'm not going to say anymore. Unlike John, I'm not giving out any of his spoilers. He can give out his own spoilers. Oscar did a great job.
That's awesome.
The Mary Sue story is done, lettered, edited. It's done.
Terrific
so
story.
I sent it out to like Brian Bao, Fabrizio Aiello, Marcus, and guess who messaged me earlier? Said send me it. Mike Barron. So Mike Barron's one of the people that read it, and then of course a couple.
Hell yes.
And I'm waiting for Mike Barron's review because Mike Barron's review of Heroic Tales #1 was it's better than the Harley Quinn Fartacular. So.
Dude, I grew up reading as I fell in love with Nexus just like anybody else did in the 80s, right? And
you would hope.
And and I sent him a copy of the book, right? And he said it was majestic.
Oh, good.
What in the hell? He really loved it. Chuck Dixon was like, well, I really don't like, I'm very much of a purist when it comes to Westerns. I really don't like Westerns with vampires and werewolves and all this other stuff. But I really enjoyed Six Gun Gorilla. He said it was a page turner. I was just like,
it really was
nice.
Because you gave you sent me the trade paperback, and I said, all right, I'm going to start reading this. I read it in one sitting, and I'm a notoriously slow reader.
Wow!
It took me like 2 months to read that tiny Doc Savage. It was a page turner.
I mean, you got like panels like that crap right there, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
good. I never got 6. I'm sorry.
How dare you, sir?
How dare you? But I like the idea that you let your artists do some big battles. I'm being the artist of the crew amongst all these evil writers. I feel put upon.
Well, here's the thing: when I work with somebody, when I make comics, I embrace the collaborative nature of the medium, and I always, thank goodness, we're not confined to like 24 pages or 21 pages or whatever it is now, right? We can go as long as we want. And so, if the artist feels like a scene needs to breathe a little bit more, or if they want to just go off, right? Now, someone like Preston Acevedo, if I'm writing for him, I'm giving him cues like, this is your chance to go off. Here are the Jack Kirby double-page spreads and stuff like that.
Right.
But the rule that you need to have when you're a writer and you're working with artists is, number one, coolest idea always wins. If they have an idea that's better than yours, suck it up, right? Because all that matters in the end is the final product, not your freaking ego. Nobody gives a fuck.
Well, I have a theory. It's a little controversial. I'm sorry, but my theory is that that artists writing off of a script from a writer wind up pushing themselves further than if they write their own script.
Yes, I would agree with that. Because I think sometimes when you're working within confines, I learned this when I was in college. And, I was an English lit major, right? And I was studying Gothic literature and the Romantic poets and all that stuff. And I discovered, like, when I would experiment with poetry myself, I'm not a freaking poet by any stretch of the imagination, but I experimented with it. And I found that I worked better in verse, right? That the structure allowed me to be way more creative. At the same time, when I write a script, I write it, full script style, page 1, panel 1. But when I give it to the artist, I tell them, treat it Marvel style.
It's exactly what I do. I was writing my first strip for the first Captain Courage story before we published the one. I was doing what the writer wanted, and it was good. People liked it. It was good comic, but it was all mid-level. I thought it was missing some drama and action. And then the next one I took it, I said, and he was fine with this.
Yeah,
I could treat his stuff plot style, but with dialogue.
Yes.
We work the exact same way. Yeah.
Yeah. It just, because here's I'm not a competitive guy. I don't really have much of an ego. And to me, all I care about at the end of the day is the finished product. And I see the finished product as something outside of myself. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And because it's a collaboration too. So I just want to make the best possible comic that I can make. And when I'm working with somebody else that has the same attitude, right? Because I mean, I had to rein in Preston like a little bit, right? Like, because he overdid it a little bit with the gore. He loves his gore, right? But I had to let him know, like, dude, like, this is more like PG-13, not like a hard R. Do you know what I'm saying? And, you know, had him remove an eyeball that was like literally sitting in the foreground of the panel, right? Oh, yeah. And then the severed toe. And he puts the severed toe. I was just like, bruh. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Those need to go. But anything else?
Renzo changed. I had it in the Mary Sue story that there's explosions and stuff like that, and her shirt got ripped off, but she was getting up, so you don't see anything.
Right.
But it was a little bit of spice. And Renzo said, "No, that's my girl," and he made it more like that didn't happen. Like he's like, "No,
I saw that."
He's like very protective of the character, you know.
Oh.
And I'm like, all right, it works.
Yeah.
But then he threw the Patriarch's wife like.
Oh my God!
We gotta add soap bubbles. We got to do something.
Yeah,
I to do that.
Wait, when you posted the pencils of it,
Renzo doesn't often go more modest.
Go full on at that
Renzo
point.
doesn't often go more modest, you know.
Right. That's why I thought it was funny. But he said he fell in love with the character. So
yeah, well, I mean, look, you know, John, I'm happy to say, because here's the thing: I want all of my fellow creators to succeed. I really do. And especially when you have people that, you know, there are names in the chats or somebody that's just hasn't been actively making comics, taking a look at guys like me and the other indie fellas and going, hey, those dudes don't look too bright and they're making it happen. Why don't I throw my hat in the ring? Right? That's what I used to love about this space. I used to see that all the time. And if I read something that I don't like, you know what I do? I just don't talk about it.
Right. I mean, if I'm directly asked, I'm not going to lie. But the example that I always give is, and everybody gets what I'm saying, that there's a restaurant around the block from my house. It's terrible. Do you want to talk about it for 8 months, or do you want to move on?
Yes.
I don't.
All I want to know is if my stuff is, because here's the thing: we put our work out there. And,
first off, Brian, excellent beard, Brian. Got to give that beard recognition.
The rest of your 6-gun gorilla orders, we're hoping to fulfill in, I'm hoping to say June. The last pages of the last book have been colored, and I think there's 2 more pages that need to be colored. And then there's, I think, 10 pages of lettering. That's not going to take very long, and we're going to be done. And there's also going to be a backup story. That's because that's the thing. If a book is late, I like if rather than tchotchkes and stuff, I like if the book is thicker. So there's like a 15-page backup.
Add more
story.
material.
Yeah, I like the stories. I have a lot of cards.
That's
I
a
don't
good.
know what to do with them.
That's a good clobbering time. Tchotchkes or more story. There we.
People seem to like them though. I mean, it's everybody gives out trading cards. I got piles of them, and I'm not even back a lot of books. I mean, I guess it seems like a lot to me, but compared to some, you know.
Yeah, I got a short box literally filled with all of the swag.
Yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, here are the pages. Well, actually, these are the uncolored ones, but we do. The colors are almost finished. You know, and I feel terrible that my book is late. Peter. And you know, I'm going to take a financial drubbing, fulfilling on this campaign. But that's just what you got to do. Yeah. First of all, if you have any sense of honor as a human, as a man, but also it's just like our backers are the people that literally make our dreams come true, right? We genuinely appreciate every single one of you.
Absolutely.
I could almost name every single one of my backers.
But that's going to change, John. That's going to change because I'm telling you, Heroic Tales 1 was really, really good. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. So I was happy for you.
I forgot what I was.
We got to sell mine on eBay if it gets big.
So T Bunny told us about 6-Gun Gorilla. Marcus, do you want to tell us about the Patriarch?
Yeah, the Patriarch is in Heroic Tales #1. He will also be in Heroic Tales #2. He is the I guess the lead character for Heroic Tales, although I think he may be overrun by some of these other characters, and he is the Superman of John's Longbox Comics universe. However, he doesn't really say he acts like the Superman, but is he really the Superman? And the big spoiler, and I hope everybody in the chat read this.
Yeah.
Heroic Tales #1 is that he has more psionic ability. He's closer to Jean Grey of the X-Men than he is a Superman. But he keeps himself in terrific condition, so it looks like he's a muscle guy and an athlete.
Yeah.
And he uses those powers to act like the Patriarch. And the key is it's not even a super, it's that he has 8 children, a loving wife. We don't know their full story, that live on an island somewhere. We don't know where that is yet. And he's got to take care of everybody. And he feels like he has to take care of the whole world. See, that's the key. He doesn't give up anything. He never shuts down. Or he tries to shut down and it doesn't work out. And he always has something to do. And he's late to all the parties.
He lives in the mountains.
My favorite part,
I didn't know it was an island in the mountains. Sorry, I forgot.
My favorite part is that he's got a stalker.
Yeah.
The fact he's got a stalker is just like a great.
I mean, handsome, it's like.
I mean, it makes sense but I've never seen that happen in a comic before. But it makes perfect sense. I mean, he is stud buffing, and
so
he's not gets saved by somebody. You've got to have that.
He's the most respected hero in the universe. However, if he's not watching out, somebody can take a bat and smack him in the back of the head and knock him out.
Right. He's got telekinesis.
He's got to be on point all the time.
Exactly.
So he's got telekinesis. So bullets don't bounce off his chin, off his chest. They hit this telekinetic shield. He robs them of kinetic energy, and sometimes he'll deflect them. When he's picking up the car, he's really telekinetically picking up. Yes. But
I love that.
He acts like Superman. He acts
he's a powerful telekinetic, though. That
right,
is
and he lifts himself up telekinetically, and then he can release his senses. All 5 of his senses will leave his body. I always picture like almost like a ghostly Reed Richards will just go out of his body, and he almost can see, hear, taste, touch over there, but over here he's vulnerable.
Like Doctor Strange astral projection.
Kind of like the astral projection. So that's like I call it clairsentience. So he sends his. So when he's checking on his family, he could literally kiss his wife on the cheek and feel it. She can't feel it, but he can. He can hear. He can see. That's going to be an issue in one of the stories. When one of his sons goes to college, one of the girlfriends is like, "Is your dad watching us now?" And he's
there are implications there, aren't there?
Yeah, there's some, but he's got a stalker, and I can't wait to tell her story. The Patriarch is going to spin off into issue 1 of his own comic. That'll be my next campaign, and I'm going to tell his origin. Nice. So that'll be the origin. And then
I wonder you could do to spice that up. Maybe make a black and white ash can of the first story. And then for like $5 add-on or something.
That's a good idea.
So if people don't feel like they didn't get it or they want to get Renzo's black and white artwork, like whatever's the least expensive for you to publish.
And issue 2 is going to be it's gonna deal with why his wife has those scars and why they live away from everybody,
right?
And why Regina's the way she is, the stalker. There's a lot. She has a lot to feel guilty for. Let's just leave it at that.
Okay.
Well, the reason why I chose Six Gun Gorilla though is for that very reason, is that he's not invulnerable.
Correct.
And he, if he gets in a physical altercation, then that illusion, could break if he loses concentration at any point. And so I think it's a lot closer than people give credit, because he's not Superman. He's not invulnerable. He's
nowhere near
limitations. And
so Shadowpunk says Is he Superman? No, he is absolutely not Superman level. Marcus makes fun of me when I say this, but Spider-Man could probably beat the Patriarch. Because
but that makes a lot of sense because himself he can bench press what he can bench press, a top athlete type of thing. He's not. It doesn't have, other than the telekinesis. He doesn't have any superpowers, right?
Correct.
So all that, like even the punch is telekinesis.
But it's in his favor.
It's not drawing. Like, when we see Jean Grey go like this,
but the whole world is held together by that lie. Yeah,
right.
But the whole world is held together by the lie that he is a Superman.
Like when Renzo
so he hides the fact that he's not a Superman.
Yeah. Yes, it's a
when
secret.
Renzo and the other artists draw it, we're not drawing the aura that we see, the power aura, like you see when they do this, and you see all the Kirby Crackle, whatever comes out of Jean Grey's hands. We're not seeing that, so we have to pick that up, and the people can't see it as they shouldn't be able to. Yeah, so when he flies, he's just flying like Jean Grey flies. He's not flying. Could he fly super fast? Probably not. You know, he can only fly as long as he could fly.
So he can fly. He can fly the way that the Hulk can, right? Which isn't really flying. He can just jump really far.
No, he
Thor can't fly. He just like throws his hammer and hangs on to it.
No, the Patriarch can fly like true flight. Like he could, because he could change directions and everything like that. Because he's telekinetically, he could lift himself and control. Like the Hulk, when the Hulk jumps, he has to complete that arc. He can't change.
Yes. No, that's really
now, if you read the early Hulks, the first 6 issues, Kirby thought he could fly. That's why he's like this the whole time, and that's and Stan Lee didn't want him to fly, and that's why in some issues he's like changing direction in the middle of the air, and like, how can he do that?
Right.
Because Kirby thought he could fly. Ditko did it once, and they thought there's one issue that they trashed that Larry Lieber saved. And he's flying all over the place, and he's obviously going up like Superman. And they would get the pages, and they would start drawing jump lines on.
Oh, that's amazing!
When I first read the Patriarch, I was a little worried that you had read my book before it came out, John, because Ironsides is very similar, but in his case, it's not telekinesis; it's gravity. But he looks like a Superman. But he has a similar issue in that his body's denser than normal human because of his higher gravity, and when he can lift things beyond his, it looks like Superman, but he's actually lowering the gravity in what he's lifting.
Okay.
And so it looks like he can lift incredible amounts.
Oh, I see. That makes sense. Yeah, that's interesting.
But it's similar to Patriarch.
It's like light lass.
But it's similar to Patriarch. Yeah.
Yeah, Chronicle. Yes, they do that in Chronicle.
Oh, brilliant!
Yeah, good
Love
call.
That movie.
See, I wanted to hearken to Superman.
Beautiful.
You know, I saw Superman is my favorite character. I wanted to hearken to him. I wanted to pay respect for Superman, but I wanted my character to be significantly different. And a couple of people said to me in the first page of Heroic Tales, the Patriarch lies to Boss Moxie about X-ray vision and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do you 3 guys, do you know why he did that? There's 2 main reasons why he intimidated Boss Moxie rather than crush him. Did you guys pick up on why?
Well, my guess was that he was basically trying to put the fear of God into him and let him know, I see you, and you might be thinking you're doing shit that I'm not aware of, but I've got my eyes on you at all times.
What do you think, Cooper? You're shaking your head. What do you think?
I agree with that, but I think basically because to stop Moxie, he was going beyond his ability. He doesn't have super speed, and he would have to have super speed to get there. And so what he did was he basically faked his capacity to beat Moxie because he knew he couldn't get there in time.
Well, he was there.
He was
standing right in front of
intimidated him.
So what he did was a combination of both. He's a dad. Dad doesn't come in and start beating right away. Dad tries to. A good father de-escalates the situation. So that's just going to be one of his things. So if you're like a super
he's a Patriarch.
If you're a super maniac speedster, you're probably going to have the edge on the Patriarch because he's going to be like, hey, listen, Brian, calm down. I don't think you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
Kick open the door and start beating you. Second off, Boss Moxie has a 45 Thompson submachine gun that could fire how many bullets. The Patriarch probably concentrated. He could deflect all those bullets, but there's a chance that he could miss one. There's a chance that one could ricochet and hit somebody else.
Exactly.
So he figured the best thing was to do was to bluff this guy, and then if that didn't work, he was going to yank the gun out of his hand.
Right. Because he's responsible, and the first responsibility that a man like that would have would be try to make sure nobody gets hurt.
And if you notice, that's the first thing he did with Dr. Robug was he was like, Roland, you don't need to do this,
Yeah. Any martial artist will tell you, it's like, well, what should I do in a fight? And they'll be run.
Yeah.
Right.
Practice ching,
knock them down and then run.
Right. My buddy was a black belt, and I was like, what's the best martial art? He goes, ching ching pow. I go, what's that? He goes, ching ching pow.
I have a question. Can the Patriarch make other people see? Like, can he say there's 15 Patriarchs?
I don't get the question.
Well, like, can he do some projection of his own image?
Can he telepathically create
No, he can't
telepathically influence what people see.
He just moves shit with his mind.
He can move,
like when he's flying, he's just lifting himself up with his mind, and moving himself. Yeah,
he can. Yeah, and there's a reason you'll see in the origin.
He's a Marvel girl with pectoral muscles.
Yeah.
Right. So
there was a George R.R. Martin character that this sort of reminded me of a little bit called the Great and Powerful Turtle. This was in the the Wild Cards series of books. Remember, that's when they were doing shared world anthologies because people wouldn't buy books of short stories anymore. And so George R.R. Martin and a bunch of other authors, they created like this comic book universe. And because he had started out writing superhero stories when he was a kid. And
weird.
Right. And so the Great and Powerful Turtle was like, this like almost kind of like Iron Man, where it was sort of this like turtle shaped thing, this shell that would move through the air and could grab and smash things, but nobody knew what was inside. And then what was inside was just some guy who was telekinetic and could just move things with his mind. So he just pick that thing up that he's inside of and just move it.
How far can his telekinesis extend if it's not a spoiler? I could look on the card because I have all the stats on his card.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so did I. Because I put all
my copy's not far.
He could go almost half a mile because I used the rules in here. So I literally have all of his stats written down.
Yeah.
And I follow the rules to this rule book. So if you get this card, I didn't have enough room on the card to give every detail, but he has a limit of how much he could press, and then he has a limit of how far he could go, and then he has a limit of how fast he could go. So he could literally take a baseball, put it on the tip of his finger, and then it'll shoot like a bullet. He could probably do more damage doing that than a legit punch. But
that's one thing that that's one reason that I don't enjoy anime that much. It's like I was watching the latest, My Hero Academia movie, and they just do that thing where they say, "Oh, this person has this power level," but yet the plot calls for this power level, and so they just blow right through the power level they supposedly have and give them and just extend it and extend it and extend it.
Oh yeah, that's terrible. That's lazy writing.
But that's pretty much anime writing. That's the way they do things, where they'll like give them this limitation and make it like make them compelling because they have this weakness, but then they'll just blow past that weakness if the plot calls for it. And we see that in modern writing all the time. But I was talking about Alan Quatermain. The reason why Alan Quatermain was so interesting was that he started out an old man. The first book you see him is he's an old man. And he's basically just the most ordinary person, except he can hit anything with a rifle, like anything, from any distance. And
he's a guide,
and so
he knows Africa well,
right? Yeah, but he cheats all the damn time, and he like cuts corners. He just knows his limitations, and he lives within those limitations, and it makes for such a good character. And that's why I like Patriarch. That's why I like Six Gun Gorilla. Is that Six Gun Gorilla never just suddenly starts talking. He's always got to like communicate with his hands, and you never move past that, beyond that limitation. And Patriarch never shows the power that he doesn't have. He fakes a lot, but when Roebug, when it comes down to it, and Roebug's about to win, he's got to show his real power. And Roebug gets an eyeball full, and he's like, "Oh crap, you're not really the guy you're pretending to be." And I got that knowledge now, and so now but the Patriarch, to win the battle, he had to actually show his hand. But I love that because that's just solid freaking writing.
Yeah, it is.
Where they have his limitations, they have these,
and you have to,
and they have to move, and succeed within these parameters. Yeah.
Right. I do have. You're going to see in the Mary Sue story that there is a cheat mechanism, but it's a logical cheat mechanism, and you'll see when I'm doing it to boost their powers. But Roebug stumbled upon the absolute best way to defeat the Patriarch. A whole bunch of little things to keep him
all
distracted.
over. Yeah,
right.
You know what I mean? So Patriarch. I don't know if I succeeded or not, but he was kind of panicking, and that's why he revealed his hand. You'll see in his origin why he behaves the way he does. There's a reason why he acts like super strong man rather than Mr. Telekinesis.
Well, he's a very well-lived. He's a very well. You can tell that the character, even though we only get a peek at him, is the world feels lived in, and he feels like a character with the history. And you're just giving us little bits and pieces. You're feeding us information piecemeal.
Thank you.
Well, the Stalker. I mean, it's just such a freaking grace note, because it's like there's a whole history there that's revealed. It's like he's got a freaking stalker. Where does this chick come from? Why do they know each other so well? Why is he like sighing like he feels pain that this woman is so into him, and he can't return it. And it's like there's so much history there, and that's what good freaking writers do.
Thank you.
I mean, Master rips my soul out every time I read it, because the writing is so damn good.
Did you guys feel any tension when he went home with the lipstick on?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Although, would his wife really not believe him?
Well, here's the thing. You know that if there was a Superman, like every woman in the world would. I mean, Superman.
Right.
So he'd have like a lot of female fans, a lot of male fans too, right? He'd have a lot of people really into him because he's Superman, right? So he's super good looking, he's super powerful, and he's super virtuous. Right? So it's like, oh my God, like, the guy could get more poon than a toilet seat if he wanted to. But of course, he's in love with playing.
Did you notice the redheaded girl? She was like that. She swooned when the Patriarch. Yeah.
That would be happening. As much as like we hate all like the woke crap that they put into the movies, I thought that at the end of Man of Steel, they missed a really golden opportunity for a great joke, right? Remember where the general's standing there and like there's a private and this young Hispanic lady, and she's like blushing, and he looks and he's like, well, like, what's up? And she goes, I just think he's really cute. And how great would it have been if suddenly the general just like looked off into the distance and went, yeah. But that's the thing. They would have male fans too.
Oh,
like,
well,
I
missed that one. Thank God.
One of the things I want to put in is that he's the Patriarch. He's the father figure. And like it or not, women like that. So that's one of the things women and he does. He flirts, but he will not cheat on his wife.
Right.
And he's a good.
Okay.
And there's another character that I don't think this. Well, it is kind of spoilery, but I think it's not a big deal. Spoiler.
Yes, Crenshaw.
The government keeps an eye on all the superheroes. There's an agent that checks up on the Patriarch's family every once in a while. Like, what do you guys need? Is everything okay? You know, stuff like that. And he's this young, handsome guy, and the Patriarch's daughter is all swoon because they live out in the middle of nowhere, and here comes this handsome man.
Right.
And she flirts with him. The Patriarch's wife is just like, oh, you know, Will was here to get today. But it's kind of like they're busting on each other. You know what I mean? Like he knows she's not cheating.
Right.
He knows, you know, they don't even get jealous. And he kind of thinks it's cute that his wife is like, oh, your boyfriend was here today, kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing.
It's not unless he's Star Wolf.
Star Fox?
You mean Star Fox?
Yeah.
For the Avengers,
Star Fox.
That was I think we were talking about. Well, I think of Man-Wolf. He turned into what? The Star God.
Right.
I think that's what I thought you were originally referencing. You know, when like Man-Wolf goes off to like
Star Fox.
It reminds me of that scene.
Like a superhero, like a John Carter kind of a character.
I love Man-Wolf. That was J. Jonah Jameson's son, John Jameson.
Yeah.
That reminds me of that scene they had in Captain America: First Avenger, where he first becomes a little guy, and everybody loves him, and because he's lovable, you know, he's the greatest guy. He's a nice guy.
Yeah. Right.
And you know, Peggy is there, and she doesn't think, you know, she really likes him, but he's just a skinny little dude. Yeah. And then when he gets really big, you know, Chris Evans, and she touches his chest and gasps. Yeah. That was real. That was not in the script.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Haley Atwell did that in real life.
Haley Atwell, and we all go like this to Haley Atwell.
I would touch her chest and gasp too. Let's be realistic.
Evidently,
I love her. She's great, but
evidently, like when they shot Casino Royale, there's that scene where Daniel Craig comes out of the water, and it looked like it was like a reference to that shot from Dr. No, where Ursula Andress comes
out of the water. Yeah,
and that wasn't, and they weren't originally going to use that. You know, they were just shooting footage, and he came out of the water, and all of the women on the set gasped.
Well, they got to leave that in then.
Yeah,
it's like, we'll leave that in.
Right.
Hey, man, look, we love our cheesecake. Let the ladies have their beefcake.
I don't have that.
Before anybody says this, no, the Patriarch is not my self-insert. You know, I just wanted to make he's basically like the Chad. You know, that's what I wanted to make. I wanted to make the most masculine guy, the most the cool guy. You want to be him, but an honorable and good. Like if the world was, even if he didn't have superpowers, he's a good guy. You know, he was a good guy before he became a superhero. You know, he didn't have that Uncle Ben experience, but
yeah. Well, I mean, everybody loves Superman too, right?
Right. My self-insert, you'll see him in issue 3. He's Augie Carmichael. I'll tell you right now, that's my self-insert.
Okay. And he's an electrician in the biggest building in.
No, he works for the government agency. He's one of the superhero handlers, but I freaking love this character. I remember John mentioning the difference between terms like beautiful, sexy, and pretty. Okay. Yes, words. Brian will back me up, I'm sure, because he's a writer. At Coop, he's a writer. There are words that mean the same thing, but they have different connotations.
Oh, cute is different than hot.
Right.
But cute can be just as deadly as smoking hot.
I remember telling in high school, I said, beware of guys that call you gorgeous, because gorgeous implies they want to have sex with you. Beautiful means you're too good for them. If a guy calls you beautiful, that means he respects you. Pretty is like, okay, that's my sister's pretty.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
And sexy means you're not necessarily good
rule
looking.
Rule of thumb. Pretty, Marianne. Sexy, Ginger.
Right.
Yeah.
Marianne,
Ginger. That's the skill.
What up, K-pop?
Yeah. You're more Marianne.
She's great. She's doing a lot to help
K-pop
indie creators right now.
Yeah. So K-pop is learning the
However, guys today are just in their basements playing video games and not talking to girls at all. So all these words don't matter anymore.
Right.
Fortunately, my kids aren't like that. They have girlfriends and they go out and stuff.
Oh, thank God.
Right.
You know,
you're telling me.
I mean, you know, I go to my LCS. I'm lucky enough to have an LCS called Dark Side Comics. No, Dark Something Comics, right?
Are you still in New York?
But what's great is, you know, one of the ways they survive is they have game nights, right? And they sell a lot of Warhammer stuff. Mm-hmm. And the kids come in there and they are social cripples, right? Which I was when I was a kid, right? But these kids have got it like even worse. But then I'm saying, like, okay, it's like, yeah, they're at that age. I'm sure these guys are terrified of girls, terrified, like I was at that age. But they're interacting, they're getting out of the house, they're making friendships and everything. You know, I always thought that the best term I ever heard used to refer to LCSs is nerd churches, right? Because a church isn't just a place of worship, it's also a community center.
Well, you have to get the kids out. Like,
yeah, and evidently John put a chapel in his basement.
I want to bring up what some person said over here. Some person, you're so close, but you missed it. It's got to be Six Gun Gorilla versus Octopus Indian.
Octopus Cowboy, by the way, Jason Orpheus, fantastic book.
Fantastic. It's a real thing. I stand corrected.
Yeah. He came out with that like, I don't know, a year or two, I think, after I came out with Six Gun, and I was just like, oh, like, seems like he was inspired by what I did, but he very much was doing his own thing with it. And one of the things that blew my mind was how good he was when it came to historical accuracy, and that's why I hired him to write this backup story, because I knew if I just, you know, like, there's a scene where the dandy, that's who the character is, gets a present from his uncle who's just come back from the New World, from America, and it's a cult peacemaker, right? So when I ask for a cult peacemaker, he gives me a cult peacemaker. Yeah, because, I mean, artists, sorry guys, a lot of you are lazy mofos, and you won't do your homework. It drives me crazy. But, you know, if you do a little bit of research.
Garfield says it's really
Hikikomori. Oh my
Hikikoris don't even leave their bedroom sometimes. Yeah, I read somewhere that there's Japan says that what they have, they call it the 50-80 problem, where they have 80-year-old parents taking care of their 50-year-old kids, and the parents are going to be dead. You know, they're not immortal, and now they're going to have 70-year-old hikikoris with nobody to take care of them. They said that there's, for those of you who don't know, a hikikomori is a person with mental disorder. They for whatever reason, they lock themselves in their bedrooms. They said that the hikikomori is the biggest outbreak. There's 10 million of them in Japan, and the second biggest country is Italy.
Really? I thought it was South Korea. Because I know in South Korea, they're actually taking like initiative. They're like, oh man, we got to do something about this.
So I was thinking of this. Now, here's a horror movie suggestion. What about a serial killer who kills hikikoris, but the families let him in? Like the families have a message board, and they contact the serial killers, just like, I'm going to be food shopping next Thursday, you know, because they can't deal with their kid anymore.
Ooh.
So that's a horror story that I'd like on someday.
Oh man,
killer.
Oh my god. Yeah, you know, it's heartbreaking. I run a depression bipolar support group where I live, and you know, they're seriously mood disordered, and I'm always open about my mood problems. I'm sorry?
I said they must have legit problems.
Yes.
Either that or they're the biggest spoiled brats in the world.
No, they're fucked up.
They're fucked up. Doesn't the other. Yeah.
They're fucked up. They're fucked up. But Oscar says, I guarantee you,
are hikikoris.
Right, I know. Hey, some of us writers too. But what these kids have,
that's old dirty fatty. Yes.
What these kids have, I'm telling you, it's treatable. You know, because that's the thing about mood disorders, is they can fuck with you and they can destroy your life. But if you get the help you need, you take the right medications, you go to a support group, you can have like a normal life. But these kids, they haven't gotten the help that they need, and my heart breaks for them.
Yeah, I know.
I think a lot of this,
America doesn't have hikikomori.
I think a lot of this is going to be fixed by Gen X taking over.
Okay, I was going to say, because we throw them out in the streets, we got homeless people.
Huh.
Like, does Japan have a big homeless problem?
No.
Yeah.
But we don't have mental asylums because they were closed down
by Reagan.
By Reagan,
right? Because
no,
not in the street.
But Reagan, they took it. I remember because I was working in the city at the time. They took in this woman. I think her name was Billie Barty. She was homeless, and the ACLU sued. She had the constitutional right to be homeless.
That's right.
And that was under the Reagan administration. The Reagan administration wanted to gather these people up and put them in homes, and then the ACLU basically.
What happened to
and Reagan was just like, all right, that's the city's problems then. And to what I say to this is, great job, ACLU. You got this woman not to go to a home, and then you'll abandon them all. It's not like the ACLU is.
Well, do you remember in the 70s the Geraldo Rivera expose on all the mental assignment upstate New York, how awful it was, how they be treated terribly, then One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest comes out. Like, it's one of the best books I've read, and the movie was good, and so now they're all on the street, and nobody's getting help, and nobody would kind of pay for them to get help.
Yeah.
And well, you should let me tell you right now, the real horror story that's going on that nobody's talking about is what's going on in our nursing homes. Because there's serious major criminal activity going on in our
absolutely. I don't even want to think about it. Right?
It's horrifying.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time in nursing homes due to injury and rehab, and fortunately, they left. I know some of it. Yeah.
I give my wife permission to push me down the stairs when I if I lose my sight, my hands, or my mind.
Check out time.
Yeah, you and your new boyfriend go on a cruise with all my comic books that you sold. I got no problem.
She's got that plan now. With your comics, she's going to buy the cruise line.
Mental hospitals only take people that everything's money.
True.
I mean,
it's all about money.
But at the same time,
well, that's
But you can't just do it for free either. You know what I mean? Like, everything costs money.
Yeah, but it's so expensive. That's the one thing. The old days, like my dad's 86.
It's a complicated problem that I don't know the solution. But what I do know is back Six Gun Gorilla and get Heroic Tales #2 on Fun My Comic. I'm just focusing
on depressing everybody.
Definitely. And by the way, every order is also going to have one of these cards.
Does it have his Villains Vigilante stats on the back?
You should come on the studio.
We should draw Six Gun Gorilla. Does have some stats on the back.
Brian, I'm going to suggest that you come on
Miller. That's
the
a Miller
studio.
Card
We
right
could draw Six Gun Gorilla.
So here's the situation that I'm thinking. For whatever reason, I mean, because they're in different time periods, so whatever, there's a time warp or whatever, and the Patriarch is, flying home, and he sees this huge gorilla packing basically howitzers in his hand, and you got it.
Obviously, you don't want a gorilla running around like in your town with giant, literal like howitzers.
Right. I get it was a time distortion because Science City's in Yuma, Arizona. Right. I could see like all of a sudden he thought he was home, but now he's in the middle of the city. Cars are coming or whatever.
Right.
They're both taken by surprise. Patriarch swoops in. Yeah. What do you guys think? It's my character, so I'm not going to say anything first.
I don't.
Brian, one of the things that Patriarch
T-Bunny start since it's our characters.
Okay. Yeah. Right. No, are you asking me?
No, I say me and you will be quiet at first because it's our characters.
Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Insight.
Like all right.
What do you think, Cooper?
The reason I picked Six Gun Gorilla is because
dirty bastard.
One thing that Patriarch has a weakness is in physical, he can wear down if he gets hit by enough physical force. Right. I showed several times during the comic that you can wear him down because he's basically holding things back by his will. Right.
Correct.
And so you got a very accurate 50 caliber bullet coming at you, which is, at the speed of a freight train, and it's going to really hit his shield hard. And he's got 6, and both guns, both 6 bullets, and that's 12 in total. That's going to be 12 massive hits on that shield. And then, he's going to reload. He showed that he's very quick on his reloads too. So that's, unless Patriarch takes him out like right away, it's going to be a very similar situation to what you saw in the first Heroic Tales, where he had to take people out.
Yes.
Like, he was at the end of his strength, and he had to take people like Robug out like as fast as possible because he was reaching the end of his strength. So I'm just saying, if 6-gun Gorilla can get his shots in, I think that, and if they go physical, if they go hand to hand, he's not going to stand a chance against a freaking silverback, hyper intelligent, whatever. What's the name of him?
Johnny.
Anyway, that's higher right than Johnny, right? So I'm just saying that it's a lot closer match than people think. It just depends on how awake or how rested up Patriarch is when they first tangle. If he's not like at the top of his strength, I think.
They're both at the top of their game. They're both well rested.
Top of the game. Well, it's definitely a tougher match for 6-gun Gorilla, but I just think with his massive, I think with his massive strength and if he can have any kind of like distance from Patriarch, I think that he could win. So
okay, Marcus, what do you say? Brian, me and you are going
to. I'm saying the Patriarch wins because he never gets to the fight. He calms down the 6-gun Gorilla. Maybe he even knows the 6-gun Gorilla's name.
No, he
calms him down. Even if you bring music into, because music soothes
savage beast,
the soul of the savage beast, right? But no, he does what he wants to do first is not get into the fight and explain what's going on and calm before it gets to that point.
Yeah.
So I think he wins because he doesn't fight him. He calms 6-gun Gorilla down. Basically, he's 6-gun Gorilla's a hero. He's a hero, and they kind of,
It's funny because
whatever that dialogue has to be.
I made a big point about saying how he doesn't come out swinging, and then
That's why I think that.
Brian, what do you think?
Cat's in the back, Brian.
Brian, that's a huge cat, by the way.
That's my buddy Simon. Who keeps me sane. I don't even think it would be close. I think that the Patriarch wins like very quickly because he can take those guns out of Kumba's hands, right? Or he could just levitate him, right? And also, then of course, there's a question of his telekinetic shield. Yeah, we're talking about literal howitzer rounds. Like how the howitzer cannons that they were using in the Civil War, basically those, but as handguns. Right, so those are going to pack boom, boom, boom. Especially if he keeps hitting the same spot. But I think the only chance that 6-gun would have would be if basically the Patriarch didn't understand that he was dealing with an intelligent ape, right? Because he would probably just see him and just think like, oh shit, it's a gorilla. I don't want him to get hurt. Right? He must have escaped from a zoo or something. Let me, swoop down, grab him, take him back to whatever zoo he came from. Right? And then if 6-gun could, take advantage of that, he might have a shot. But if he goes in knowing what he's dealing with, no. Because telekinesis is the second coolest superpower, I think. My favorite is like the Taskmaster's power. If I could have any superpower, that would be it. I watch a Bruce Lee movie. Now I can do kung fu. Right? Coolest superpower ever, and the most useful. But telekinesis is a close second.
I think telekinesis is probably the most useful power.
Yes.
And the second most useful would probably be teleportation.
teleportation would definitely, intangibility would be useful. Flying, useless unless you have some kind of protection, right? You'd fly into a fucking goose and take your ass right out, right? You'd have to be really, really careful. You'd need flying by itself is like not only useless, it's dangerous.
He flies, you know what I mean? So to keep himself but I got to agree. You know, it's funny. He's my character, and I didn't even think of that. He would de-escalate. That would be.
That's what I thought he would do. And
like, right before you do you want a banana? You know, he like put the guns down. You're gonna hurt yourself. Do you want a banana? Now let's just say he doesn't do that.
Yes.
The 6-gun gorilla, I think, would pull off a couple of good shots. I think the Patriarch would be like, "Oh my God, this isn't. I can't take this too long."
Oh, he'd give him a run for his money for sure.
And I think he would just, you know, is anybody looking? If nobody's looking, he would literally pick him up by the guns, so that the guns would be, you know, if the 6-gun gorilla let go of the guns and lunged at him, now that's how the 6-gun gorilla would win. Because
but then how does he get through that shield? Because he have the shield up while he's manipulating other things.
But he has to concentrate on everything. So if he's
right
on lifting up the guns, he's not concentrating that much on the shield.
If it goes hand to hand, here's the thing.
Right, because Patriarch doesn't have any intrinsic bodily powers. It's all an extension of his mind and his will.
Right. Whereas a gorilla, it's literally 500 to 600 pounds of pure fucking muscle. As it happens, they're peaceful, right? Like evidently, because of course, you know, I'm like Chuck Dixon in the sense that when I do research, when I'm writing a comic, I do my fucking research.
Right.
If I have an Aztec character, right, it's like an Aztec vampire, even though I know I'm not going to need 99.9% of what I read, I'm going to read 2 or 3 books about the Aztecs, right? But shit, what was my point?
That you know how strong the gorilla is. Yeah.
So the gorillas are, I mean,
the Patriarch is
ridiculously powerful. They
can't fight a gorilla.
Dude, there's one case. I always used to say there's not a single recorded incident of a gorilla killing a man.
Is that right?
I discovered is not true. There was a guy in Africa who evidently ran into like a silverback, right? And caught it by surprise. And it's kind of like, you know, when you go hiking, you know, like there's bears out here, right? So what do? You make a lot of noise. Because if they hear you coming, they're gone. You just don't want to, like, especially like the bigger bears. We got the small brown ones out here. They're cute, right? But if like a grizzly bear or some shit like that, yeah, you just want to know if you catch them by surprise, then they'll go after you. And evidently, this gorilla did go after this guy, and his head was a good distance from its body.
Yeah.
So that gorilla could, I mean, basically just popped his head off like a fucking champagne cork. Right? They're that powerful. They're that strong. That's one of the things that made me love gorillas when I was a kid, right? Because when you're a kid, you identify with these figures that are powerful, right? That's why you love the Hulk. That's why you love Superman. That's why, I loved King Kong. And, you know, I mean, anybody who reads 6-Gun Gorilla is going to understand very quickly that as a boy and as a man, the original King Kong.
It's Coco with cannons.
Very close to my heart.
Yeah.
Very close to my heart.
So I think that I'm glad we kind of agree, because having telekinesis and the ability to fly is a huge advantage.
Huge.
Now the Patriarch normally gets in close to mimic superpowers, but I think if he saw a gorilla fighting with guns, he would know. You know, he would literally just raise his hand and lift. He would lift the guns. Now whether or not the 6-Gun Gorilla would let go of the guns, you know,
right.
That's the difference.
Or maybe he could even like
this and just keep them in the air. Like I always thought,
Well, how about this? How about if he grabs Six Gun's hands? Because that's kind of like when you think of telekinesis, you think of like hitting somebody that's with a telekinetic fist, right? You're picking something up. It makes you like in your head, it would be all about hands. That's how you would imagine. Like if telekinesis were visible, they'd be hands.
Right.
Right. And so if he just grabbed him by his fists and just, didn't let him take his hands off the guns and just squeezed them together, right, and then lifted him up, he'd be helpless.
Right.
And he could just pick him up and throw him, into a lake or something like that. Because, Patriarch would not want to hurt the girl.
Right. Now, that's what I was going to say. Now let's do the original scenario that Coop brought up. Yeah. He shows up and he's like, do I have is there a banana? Why is this dumb animal doing? Because that's what he would do. Yes. How would that work? How would Six Gun react to that?
Oh, he'd be reasonable. You'd have to assume, right? Because they're fighting. That's the thing. Thor versus the Hulk is not a plot, right? It's an idea, right? It's a setup for like a fight, but it's not a story, right? So, of course, you're going to have to craft the story of how these characters that were created not to complement each other, but are completely separate, right? That's the thing people forget about the Avengers and the Justice League. Those characters were not created to be a group. It's not like the Fantastic Four, right? Where instead you're just taking these characters and just throwing them together and seeing what happens. But if for some reason it was they need a reason to fight, right? And like that's one of the reasons I love the Marvel comics when I was a kid, was because when I saw Martian Manhunter would meet Superman or Batman or somebody like that, they would shake hands and they would talk. In Marvel comics, it always started out with a fight. Always.
I just thought
always start out with a fight.
Always. Right? Because it's more exciting. And but then that creates a problem. That's what I loved. What I thought was so genius about Civil War, right? And I remember Millar saying that that's one of the things that he loved about Marvel when he was a kid, was the fact that if you saw these characters meeting each other, it was always a freaking fight. Thor runs into Hercules. Oh, that's going to be a brawl. Right? It's just going to happen. It's just a given.
Yeah. I always thought that was the funniest thing. Could you imagine?
I've got a script.
Could you imagine if us four were in a bar and all of a sudden I just wailed on you and started fighting? You know what I mean? And then 3 days later we're buddies again. That's I'm sorry, Daredevil. You just punched me in the face. I'm not your friend anymore.
It was a misunderstanding, though. It was a misunderstanding. He thought that what he was seeing wasn't like what he was actually seeing. It just looked bad, right? It looked like you were trying to dump a dead hooker. You were actually trying to help this person.
At T-Bunny's face over here.
Yeah, so it's always some kind of a misunderstanding, usually, right? Because they're heroes.
Well, I've got a script right now where Ironsides faces Abbott from Company Man, if you know about Kemosabe's Company Man. And the first thing they do is throw down, but Ironsides kind of stops. He's like, whoa, what are we doing here? And Abbott's still throws a fist and stops it an inch from his nose and flicks his nose and says, "See, I would have won," and Ironsides is I stopped. Dude. He's like, "Yeah, but that doesn't matter, though,"
Frickin' Mike Barron, right? Whom we love. Yeah. I actually finally got a chance to be on a stream with. Yeah. I've been on a bunch of streams with him, but I finally got to fucking air my beef with that dude, which is. There was this thing, Crossroads, I think it was called. It was First Comics characters.
I remember that.
Right? That were, right? So you had John Sable Freelance and Badger, right? Or and then you had Grimjack, my boy, and you had Judah the Hammer from Nexus.
Right.
Right? And you know what the fight is? Fucking Judah just basically backhands him backhands Grimjack and just knocks him out and the fight's over. I will never forgive you for that, Mike.
I still don't.
I still have a bug up my ass about that.
I still don't like in the DC Image team up when Grifter goes to fight Batman and they don't. Grifter basically says, "I can't win." I was like, "Oh, come on, give us something. Give us a little bit."
Do you know who really had the great idea? Chuck Dixon wanted to do Batman versus Dirty Harry.
Yes, Clinton himself stopped that.
Yeah. You know this story, right?
Yeah.
Because I remember when I mentioned that to Chuck, I asked him. He was just like, "How did you know that?"
Yeah,
right?
He told the story.
Right. Yeah. And the thing is that would have made an awesome comic. But then, of course, Clint Eastwood had this thing where he doesn't want his image used.
Right.
So, hopefully June. June. Looks like June. Finally, because the book is finished. That is to say, there's about 2 to 3 more pages that need to be colored, and then lettered, and the lettering, of course, goes really fast. We're like right on the edge of fulfillment. So, and trust me, I know these books are late. I want to get them to you more than anything, and that's another thing too. People, if your campaign is late, give people updates. Regular updates.
Yeah.
I put up the pages as I get them, but that's tricky because I don't want to drop any spoilers.
Right.
So I'll post just a couple of pages, but I'll show you the book is getting done. Right. Preston and I, we had a rough year. Right. He lost his home because of a tornado. I lost my home because my mom got sick with Alzheimer's. And I had to take care of her, and it wiped me out financially. Right. So that's not an excuse. That's just a explanation.
It's an
and we're going to make sure that you are happy with the finished product. Like, then I got these things.
I will say that I think most people are forgiving as long as you give updates and you're reasonable and it's not
I think that if you do a campaign, there is a little bit of privacy that you have to let them know what is happening.
You have to.
If you're sick, you have to let them know you're sick. If you're in the hospital, you have to even if you don't want to know, you kind of know because they put a financial financial thing on your book.
Yeah,
and like Jack said, life happens.
It does. It does, but still, like the people that backed this was 2 years late. But I made sure. Oh, nice, John. Nice. I made sure that when I finally got these to the people that backed it, they didn't get 1; they got 2.
Oh, okay.
And a written apology.
Oh, that's cool. That's a good idea. Yeah.
And a sincere one, right? Because nothing is worse than an insincere apology, right? That makes you just want to strangle somebody.
Right.
Ice Coop.
But yeah, no, I mean, you have to understand that guys like me, we have a lot of affection for our backers because we couldn't do this without you. Like, you're literally making our dreams come true.
Right.
And there's nothing worse than feeling like one of the worst feelings in the world, gentlemen, I think you could probably agree with me, feeling like you let your friend down.
Yeah.
Right? That's one of the worst feelings in the world. I let my friend down. I let them down. Right? Which is going to happen in life. Right? And hopefully you learn from it. But that's how I feel about my backers.
I feel like
let them down, and I'm not going to let them down because I don't want to live.
Like when Cooper picked Six Gun Gorilla over Patriarch, he let his friend down.
No, really.
Yeah. Yeah, without a doubt.
But
yeah, no, I mean,
I'm sorry.
I was just being honest.
I know, I'm busting chop. Brian, because I backed 2. And you sent me a trade paperback.
Yes.
Is what I'm getting any different than the trade paperback that you sent me?
No, it should be. Oh shit! it should be. I just got a box of these. Is that the book I sent you? I saw that that homeboy has the Canaan White variant cover.
Yeah, that's exactly what I got. That's in your hand right there.
That you got one of those?
No, in your hand.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, because even I don't own one of those, right? And that's the thing. When I say shit is like limited edition, it's fucking limited edition, right? Because I understand that some people are buying stuff as an investment. And hey, what's up? What's up,
we get the upside down people from
brother, man.
Australia coming in. How you doing? Mike?
Fucking raid.
But yeah, these I got these coming, and then there will be volume 2. But you can get it also as issues 9 and 10, because I discovered you can't run a campaign for issue by issue, right? Nobody was going to back Six Gun Gorilla number 9. Because they're waiting for the trade paperback, right? And we have there's two kinds of customers we have: trade paperback people and floppy people. You want to make sure that you cater to both of their desires, right? I also do a digital tier because some people, shocker, don't want to pay $28-$30 for shipping and handling because they live on like the other side of the world. And and it's great that it's beautiful that we can reach people literally around the world so easily. But at the same time, our bread and butter, the people that that back our books, they're book people. They
cost me $12 to mail some to Florida.
Okay, Logic's got a touchy question, and
sure.
I'll ask everybody: how long should people wait for a crowdfunding comic? A year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? Honest question. Not trying to start. Yeah, I don't.
No. You're good. You're good. That's a really good question.
I will say, like, if when you're launching and it's your first time, I didn't understand how unprepared I was. I'm amazed that it came out. My comic was 3 weeks late, and mostly because I was on schedule until I wasn't. I like to think I was transparent, and nobody complained. I make the biggest deal out of it.
I don't think anybody really knows 3 weeks.
If I stopped talking, I would forget.
3 weeks doesn't even count. If it's not even a full month, if you're late, like not even a full month, I'm sorry, that doesn't even count, bro.
But
doesn't count.
I'm pretty forgiving, but to tell you the truth, the answer is, how are you handling your lateness? Like,
yeah,
I think that's it.
Are you dropping updates, regular fucking updates?
I backed the comic. I know what you're talking about. I backed the comic. It was called The Magician, and I backed it way before Cyberfrog, and I haven't seen an update. I haven't even seen this person online. I don't know if this person even exists on this planet Earth.
They're not serious. Yeah. They're not serious creators. They're con artists, scam artists. They made a quick buck and they split with it. And they're also, and I understand that temptation when you've got like, oh my God, like I just got $20,000. I should lay this down on the mortgage. I should save my house. Yeah. Guess what? No one will ever trust you again.
Right.
No one will ever trust you again. And I'm in it to freaking win it. This is because the thing about our books is that ours are made with sincerity and passion. And that's something that you're never going to get from the mainstream.
And a lack of
funds.
I'm
happy that Japanese comics are doing great.
And a lack of funds.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, and right now, things are tough, yo. People do not have money. Yeah, Critias. Yeah, exactly. Right. And then there's somebody else, I think, was it Detective Dead? Was that his book?
Never heard of it.
I forget. But then there was like another fellow like that. And my attitude is, if somebody were like, like Dan Fraga's
Andrew
5 years late, that's it. Yeah. If they were to then deliver the book, come back and to fulfill and give a mea culpa, they should be forgiven. However, if people are then reluctant to back their next book,
yeah, well, that's it.
I get it.
Don't
everybody
started on Rob Willis. Please don't get me started.
Michael Frankloff brings up an excellent point. Now, I didn't do 90 grand. I wish I did do 90 grand, but I did pretty good for my first campaign. I had just about 9 grand sitting in my Stripe account. I got the Stripe account, and every day I was getting paid, and I'm like, I don't like this. I can't keep track of the money. You know what I mean? So about $120 went into my regular checking account that I spent. Full disclosure. But then I turned off the Stripe so it would sit there, and so I would have to manually withdraw that money. Now, I didn't plan on breaking my neck. I broke my neck. I wrecked my car. So I went from having a nice cushion in the bank where I could afford to make a comic if it bombed, you know, it wouldn't wreck me, to I'm out of work. I got to buy a new car. I got to make new car payments on a new car. And, you know, and then I took money out of my 401k to pay my mortgage. And then I got hit with taxes on that, like an idiot.
Right. Yeah, I've done that.
But I never touched that money because that wasn't my money. That was your money. Not until, to be honest, I still haven't touched it. I took out what I needed. Anything left over is rolled out. You know what I mean? So that comic is paid for the next comic. Now,
exactly. That's how we do it.
Games, I mean, if I had 90 grand, man, I got to say that temptation would be there. So
I guess you could spend the interest.
Yeah.
But I again, people know who I'm talking about, but I'm not going to mention names. I saw a guy go, I just made $35,000. Thank you. And he's holding up a brand new Xbox on Twitter.
Oh, I don't know who that is.
And I said, I bit my, and I said, you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be doing that. I'm not saying you're doing anything wrong, but the appearance of impropriety is
right. Bad.
You know, and then I noped out. I don't know if that itched my guts or whatever, but like you can't do it.
Look, and you know what? People who are grown men should be able to accept criticism, right? I know one of the things I rely on my friends for, like my closest friends, is for them to let me know when or if I'm fucking up, right? We all need that friend in our life that's going to be like, hey, man, you know what? I love you, but you're wrong.
Brian, you think this is clobbering time. It's really an intervention. Coop, lay it on him.
So I was just going to say, in my understanding, and John knows this, in the crowdfunding world, there are way worse late things than comics. Tech, games are bad. I have
board games that I've been waiting for 7 years.
Comics are the least of the late things. We just are in this space we're in, are the loudest about it.
Lady Alchemy I figured there was no way.
At least it came out like
exactly. And in that case, if the campaign is fulfilled and the person apologizes, that's an important part, is the apology, right? And it better be sincere, because like I said, there's nothing worse than an insincere apology. That makes you hate a motherfucker bad.
It's funny. It's like I'm friendly with Martina Markota. She's the one that's doing the
cosplay.
Yeah, she fulfilled.
That's going to be a bump, John.
I still don't even know all the details because I don't want to ask. I don't want to.
You know, it's like the Dan Fraga thing. He is going to fulfill this campaign.
Yes, he is.
I've seen, and maybe others have too, I've seen all the sketched out pages on his phone. And he is a guy that Dan's a lot of things, but he's a man of his word.
Yes, he is.
I don't want not to get into the Dan Fraga controversy. That's ridiculous. We've talked about that too.
He's
going to be a special comic because he's putting his heart and soul in it. But he regrets every day that it's late. And what he didn't do was give the proper updates. People didn't know his 2 medical problems. He had this one. He had that one. And then finally, his hands were shaking like this. And that's one of the reasons why he took a full-time job, because he has to pay for his family. But nobody knew that until now, until the last year, I think we knew.
Right.
But before that, nobody knew. Where's Dan? Where's Dan?
Well,
Where's Dan?
I understand why, though. I understand why. Because when I was going through my shit, I wasn't putting that in the updates. I was just posting stuff as I was getting it.
Right. Well,
because the thing is you don't, and I understand, he should have given updates and let people know what was going on with him health wise.
Right.
But I understand why he
didn't. A great man. I love him, but you know.
Yeah. I understand why he didn't.
I just this is the late book that I know most about, and then I can talk about it. I'm not talking about how other people run their businesses whether they make one campaign to pay for that. If we're at that level, God bless us all.
Yeah,
We all have a couple of campaigns going and they all make money, whatever.
We got 75 people.
Don't draw 2 comic books as once. That's one thing I'll never do. But
we got 75 people watching. We got 4 people. So
you should all back.
No, well, yeah, all back my comic, all back
and back Brian's comic.
But what I want to say is stop.
Guess what this is, Cooper?
Stop pocket watching other people's money. It is
Cooper. Guess what this is?
Owen.
Yes, no, it's bad.
If I was at work, if I work construction,
I'm at my desk.
There's guys that will go to other jobs for weekend work, and if I said to him, "Hey, Marcus, did you go to that job and you work 12 hours?" That's an insult.
Yeah.
Marcus would be like, "You don't watch my money. That's none of your effing business."
So that's right. I'm not criticizing anybody else's business. That's their thing.
Now, I will say that I watch other people's campaigns because I'm like, "Oh, my book is kind of similar to that." I kind of use it as a gauge. That's a story. But if I'm sitting there going, "Oh, Cooper did this much money and Cooper did this,"
you can learn something.
It's taken 4 months.
Yes,
that is the gayest thing going. Watch yourself compete with yourself.
Nobody is watching my campaign for money.
You know what I'm saying?
Mine either. But here's the thing. We learn from each other, right? And that's what I loved about this community like 3-4 years ago, was that you had people, we were all learning together, and we were learning from each other's successes, but more importantly, we were also learning from each other's blunders, right? Like I would do certain things, right? To like, for instance, I was like, let me throw my campaign for the first 6 gun. Let me do that on Kickstarter, but not advertise it, and just see how much it does just from people scrolling and stumbling across it. And I made about like $2 or $3 grand that way. Oh, okay, it's clearly worth going on Kickstarter, right? Even though there's certain people that are going to try to blacklist you for doing so, right? And and then I tried Zoop, and that ended up being a fucking disaster.
So you spun my comic.
What was that?
He said, "Fund my comic."
Oh yeah, no fun. Yeah,
well, I will say this: I made a pretty bad tactical error with my campaign. I launched on Fund My Comic, and I had the Pat Broderick cover. Okay, so if you wanted that, you got the Renzo cover, you got the Patrick, and then you paid $10 shipping. Then I went on Kickstarter and I had the Michael T. Gilbert cover. You wanted that, you paid $10 shipping. And then on Indiegogo, I did the Mike Gustovich cover, and if you wanted that, you paid it. So I'm asking you to pay $30 shipping, when if I did it all at once, it would have been $10 shipping. So I'm not doing that again. I made that mistake. I kind of learned. But now, if you want the extra covers as an add-on, you could get them. The shipping's figured in, so everything's cool. But I ruined. I did the other mistake I almost did was I watched your boy Zach. He made the Jawbusters first comic. Whether you liked it or not, that's not the point. But he did phenomenally well, and then he followed it up with garbage, and he built his momentum.
Yeah, I never read any of his comics. So that's what
I was just like, I think I gotta stay with the Patriarch. People like the Patriarch. I gotta do what the market tells me to do.
See if people like your Put your stuff out there. See how people react to it. And also, I gotta emphasize this, John. Paying attention to your peers' campaigns isn't keeping your eye on their money.
Right. That's what I said. Watching
There's nothing wrong with that, because we're all trying to learn from each other, and we steal from each other.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's just like if somebody comes up with a new idea.
I'm not doing that. That didn't work.
Exactly. And we should borrow from each other freely that way. Like somebody had, I forget, was it Edwin the Ace Acevedo, right? He had Slam Buddies, like those professional wrestling toys.
Oh yeah,
like pillows. He had Slam Buddies for his campaign. I was like, "Fuck, that's dope!" Right? That's so cool. Now, if would it be wrong for me or anybody else to make a Slam Buddy of their character? Hell no. Do you know what I'm saying? We all learn from each other, and should feel free to swipe those things, because it's not taking anything away from that other person. They just came up with a very clever idea, and you just imitate it because it worked. And there's nothing wrong with that.
I will also say this. I've had people message me and say, John, I like you. Your comic was good, but I'm done with crowdfunding because I got burnt so many times in the past. So if you are going to crowdfund, you got to understand that you could hurt other people's campaigns by your bad actions.
That is the biggest truth of them all, because that's also one of the reasons, I make sure that I've always fulfilled my campaigns, always, right? I mean, not that I deserve a cookie for not being a jerk, for not being an asshole, but what you want to do is you want to establish a track record.
Just to sketch logic.
So I haven't been like, late like this with other books. People know that they're going to get their books because I send them regular friggin' updates and show them the art. I'm not paying
Don't make daily videos talking about your book looks like it was on time when your book is 4 years late and it still sucks. You all know what I'm talking about.
Him. Yeah. Well, see, so people have certain excuses, medical excuses, home excuses. Life. Forget excuses.
It happens.
Some people realize that they can't draw 2 campaigns at once, and everything else gets in the way. Okay, that's not really an excuse, but that happens.
Right.
Zach's excuse from listening to him not getting is that he is so anal retentive that he just doesn't let the books go. Like he's always tweaking them, constantly tweaking every single.
Like an OCD
doing a lot of comics, which he's not doing right now. It was tweaking and sending this back and changing this.
If he's going to tweak them, and then I get this, this wonderful Michael.
As an artist, you got to let the drawings go.
Yes.
I have a drawing in front of me, and I keep saying, "Oh, this line could be better." That line, you got to let them go. One of the reasons why I don't do digital is because I'll never let that thing go on digital. It'd be too easy to fix. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Now the background should be so much easier for me. I understand that, but
did anybody back and get that Knife Hands comic that he made?
No, but I heard people didn't like it.
Oh my! I can't even decipher what's on the cover. It's.
What about Rock and Roll Ninja?
Rock and Roll Ninja is awesome.
That's different though, because that wasn't run by Zach. Zach, it was late, and that was not late because of Chuck. And I don't think it was late because of Matt.
Probably wrote that in 4 minutes.
Matt gets his work done.
Chuck,
sure
probably was done with that. And
Chuck's done with his scripts in 2 weeks. Are you kidding me?
Oh well, that dude's just a fucking machine.
And Matt Bauer is a professional. Matt was in the chat earlier.
Matt's a professional.
He's working on stuff for me now. He is awesome. He's funny. He could do serious. He could do anything.
He is.
And I will say that Rock and Roll Ninja is the best thing he ever put out. I can't wait. That's the only thing I'm backing is Rock
Ninja. Right.
I can't give any details.
Matt had it done about 2 years before it came out.
Yeah, that's my understanding.
Right. Right now, I'm working on something for Matt.
Okay, good.
It's a old project that he wanted to resurrect, and he was like, he showed it to me. And it's like, here, like, what do you think? And I was like, yeah, like, can you do anything with this? Yeah, hell yeah! I can't wait to talk about that, man. That's gonna be fun. Then I got Blood Moon Stomp coming out this year with Adam Lawson. That's my book. That's basically Adam asked me, like, he read a screenplay I had written that was about Mexican wrestlers fighting monsters, right?
Oh, I like that. That's a great idea.
And I love the El Santo movies, right? And the whole idea is that the wrestling is fake, but the monster fighting is real. Like, he is actually out in a graveyard fighting vampires, Brian, in the movies that he makes. Yeah,
I've been bouncing ideas off of Oscar about a Mexican superhero.
They won't let you do that in the mainstream.
I just want to do it so bad, and Oscar's like, no, you'll get made fun of if you do it that way. You know what I mean? Like he's trying to keep it.
Bane is based on Mexican wrestling.
Well, John, are you Mexican?
No, not at all. I'm an Irish Italian from New York, but that's why I'm talking about.
So you can't do that. You can't do that because that's cultural appropriation.
Oh no, that's not true. I work for Mythic Americas and work on indigenous people's comic. It's an RPG like a Warhammer, except for indigenous peoples.
Yeah.
I'm working on Inuits right now, And my
Really?
writer's Jewish.
Inuits are really interesting.
Mexican El Chingon. I don't know if that's
a two-story 8-pagers for them.
Chingon means. What does it mean?
Awesome.
Am I cursing right now? Oscar, did I just say a bad word? But I had this. Did you ever see the movie City of God? Did you ever see that movie City of God?
Yeah, awesome.
I've been obsessed with that movie for years.
It's incredible.
And I was just thinking, like, what if, like you got this, the Ciudad de Dios in Brazil. It's the world's largest slum, although now Mexico has the world's largest slum.
Yeah.
And they were saying that there's people who are born, live, and die there. There's no documentation that they ever existed.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I was just like, what if there was a daredevil guy that arose in the slums and fought in the slums, like, and nobody knows who he is because there's no documentation. He's saving people, you know. I just think, but I don't know Portuguese, so I was going to turn it into Spanish. I don't know Spanish. I could get around the DMV, but I can't, you know, speak.
Well, I know what you're thinking of too. I know what you're thinking of, because there is one of the things. By the way, City of God, folks, if you haven't seen it, add it to your IMDb list. Check it out. It is a masterpiece. It's like fantastic. It's like one of the best movies I've ever seen. And but there's, you know, this character who emerges. Remember the bus driver, right? Where it's just like these guys do things to his girl, and he just, because I think he was like a rifleman in the Olympics, right? And he just comes out and boom, 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 starts blasting these gangsters, and it looks like finally the slums has its hero, but then he has to basically become a gangster to fight the gangsters.
Yeah, it's a good movie. It's really shocking, you know.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Yeah. I can't say enough great things about that movie.
But I don't know. I usually at this this point we'll get back to the topic at hand. So
we have a chance to.
So Cooper, you're voting for Six Gun Gorilla. It was nice knowing you. Brian,
no, I'm gonna go ahead. I see the writing on the wall. I'm gonna vote for Patriarch. Let's get it over with.
So Marcus, who you calling?
I'm gonna stick with the Patriarch. Yeah.
Brian, who are you calling 5-4?
Patriarch.
Yeah, so people in the chat, if you want to tell us who you think wins the fight, and I don't know. I think this is a fun idea. If I could get the guys, the creators of the books on here to do that, I think that's kind of a fun way to promote our books.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Fun talk.
We gotta get.
Anybody have a suggestion for the next week? I was kind of thinking of this one. It's clobbering time. Artists versus writers. So
I'm outnumbered. I feel
that's a great idea.
So that one, okay, we'll do that one. Artists versus writers.
I gotta get some help. Jeez Louise.
But also keep in mind,
you don't want to know who I'm going to bring in.
Right.
I got Alan Moore on hold. Right,
I'm bringing in Andy Smith.
Hey man, look,
he's too
my
busy
boy
for
Preston
that stuff.
Acevedo. He's like a jiu-jitsu guy.
Well, Alan Moore wouldn't help.
Okay, I'll take
Alan Moore wouldn't
Acevedo.
help
He's
you.
good.
Yeah.
Well, Alan Moore would like use chaos magic on you or some shit.
Oh, I got Oscar. Forget it. I win. I got Oscar.
Yeah. So,
Grant Morrison, he also could like use his occult powers on you.
Oscar, you're allowed. You know, I'm not sure if I made it clear enough, but anybody is welcome to come in on It's Clobber Time. We have.
I'm only kidding around. I have opinions on that, but they're not quite the image opinions.
You know, so anybody's allowed to come in and talk. That you can't have Clobbering Time without without people to argue and fight. It's all fun. Nobody get mad. Nobody. You know. Six Gun wins. His wife falls in love with the gorilla, and that dude self-deletes. Does Alan Moore still worship the snake god? That's the thing about Alan Moore is he knows he's full of shit.
Yes, it's a Don Quixote. It's you know what he's doing? He's doing a Don Quixote, right? If you've ever read Don Quixote by Cervantes, which is a big, thick book, but it's one of those classic novels that is really like well worth reading. Right,
it's actually funny.
It's funny and it's beautiful and it's heartbreaking. It's there are classics that are great reads. There are classics that are just classics just because they're of historical significance. Some of them are still great reads. But one of the details that I found so interesting, which I never knew about Don Quixote, was that he was mad on purpose. That is to say, deep down inside, he knew it was like all bullshit.
Okay.
So he wasn't really legitimately insane.
Well,
He decided to be, or he was insane because he decided to be insane.
Oh yeah, that's like Alan Moore.
He was in deliberate denial.
Yeah,
deliberate denial.
Exactly, because because
he didn't want the reality to be what it is.
Right, you've been reading all these books about chivalry and knights and everything, and the Arthurian tales. He wanted to fucking He wanted to joust giants and of course fight for his lady love, Dulcinea. What's that her name, Dulcinea? Right, and then you have Sancho Panza, who's like the companion, who's just like, somebody's got to watch out for this fool. But there's so much, that's an important thing I think for writers is don't just read comics. Because if you're just reading comics, then you're just going to be regurgitating the same old shit.
Yeah,
I read only comic books and Penthouse forum letters. That's all.
Yeah, keep it classy.
Any of those real?
I never thought it would happen to me, Marcus, but it was a rejection of modernism, like we oppose postmodernism. I don't quite understand, Zach 10. If you could explain this, or Brian, do you understand what he's saying? I never claimed to be smart.
No, I mean it was no, dude. I'm definitely not the brightest bulb in the batch. That's for damn sure. But I think what he's talking about is rejecting the modern world. Because the modern world is fucked up.
Oh, Don Quixote was
wrong, and so it's kind of like I'm a very politically, I'm a classical liberal. Not like these. I don't have a TDS, not even a touch, right? But
in other words, you're homeless.
Well. The thing is
everybody
that
knows how to
embrace the modern world, the positive things in the modern world, right? So in many ways, I'm very modern, I'm very progressive, but I'm also old school about a lot of shit, right? Because there are things in the past that are worth getting rid of and that should be gotten rid of, but then don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Right, like women's rights. We don't need that crap.
No, they should have never been in. Well, now that Katie's on, she should not be allowed to vote.
There's a reason why I'm making the Patriarch. No, Katie, sorry. She says, hello, John. Sorry about last Saturday. I'll set up a special night stream during the week and promote. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. That's very nice of you.
That's one thing about Katie, that she promotes everybody.
And Katie did a review of her hotel. It was glowing as I would have liked, but she was fair, and I actually agreed with her criticism. Back to what you said earlier about criticism.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, well, because look, we fucking put our work out there. We don't know if it's any good or not. It's like, I think it's good, but until I get the verdict from other people, and I've been super lucky, super duper lucky, and blessed that everybody who reads Six Gun Gorilla loves it. And that's not me being braggadocious or flexing. That's me being really grateful.
It wasn't lucky as you just dropped the pages and all of a sudden a story was formed. You did a good job. You did the hard work.
That's what I do.
Well, thanks, brother. Thanks.
It's a legitimate good comic. There's so many good comics.
There are.
I'm just reaching out, like Oscar Carreno, who colored Mary Sue. He colors this. This is a freaking awesome comic.
Can you blow that up? Go full screen?
Sure. I'm just choking.
Oh, Rome Eternal, yeah.
This is Rome Eternal.
It's nice
comics. I'm going to say his name wrong. Humberto Rios is the writer. And the only way to describe the insanity of this comic is it's Mobius and Jack Kirby make a comic book together set in the Roman Empire with superheroes.
I'm sold. 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 I don't think I've heard of it.
No, that's the problem is that people haven't heard of it. I've been championing this comic. Battle Brick Road. I can't believe I enjoyed Battle Brick Road more. I knew I was going to like it.
Yeah.
But I didn't think I was going to like it as much because I said earlier I'm very protective of the Wizard of Oz. That's a book. Peter Pan and the Wizard of Oz are two books that are very personal to me.
Yeah.
And I want to protect them, and I hate when people bastardize them. So sorry, Eric Weathers, on the odd chance that actually watched, I was like biased against that book because I'm like, no, that guy's doing something to a book that I almost hold sacred, like Tolkien.
Right.
And then I got the book, and I'm like, no, this guy loves the Wizard of Oz. He's doing something different with it. He's this isn't Steamboat Willie axe murderer.
Zeb Hatfield is a hell of a writer. Zeb Hatfield.
But I
got what you got there.
Second issue.
I have
right here.
Captain Action versus Al Capone Vampire by J.C. Vaughn.
I got them on.
Okay.
And again, I'm not a prude. I got Slave.
Oh, I got that too. I got the Jim Lee variant though.
This was really great. Frog G by that's Jason Bass.
And the thing about poor JC, he funds less than all you guys. He funds as low as anybody, and he's like super happy about it.
Oh man, are we busting out books now?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I want to say this.
Let me grab some shit.
That was a lot of fun, right?
Clint, if you're actually watching this, I would love for him to do a cover for. I love his art style. It is. I mean, yes, he's a big booby girl stuff like that, but when he draws serious, it's awesome. It's really good.
He's got. Did you back the next Blue Bombshell?
I anything Clint Holinsky does, I back, and then I got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Okay, that one's okay. Well, this one John will like.
Oh, Horace H. Hoover. Yep.
This let's tell you a little story. So, everybody who backed it has the alternate comics versions, right? Well, I needed the last issue that Fabrizio done. So I bought the last issue, $8. This is great. John had said it's on better paper. And Fabrizio sends me all 3 comics.
Right. He's a good guy.
Because he says, well, I'm a nice guy. I'm in his chat when he inks. And I repost a lot.
No, I got that. That's really good.
And you know what? I did not reread this yet. I have to reread this because the colors and the paper are so much better and clearer that it's worth every dime to go buy it directly from Fabrizio's website. That's what I wanted to say. And he's
Brian, I bet you even
nice
believe
guy for that. I mean, I got Gordrath and all those others, but we know who got that.
Comics right now.
But yeah, no, I mean, that's why I like my Democrat friends. We're no longer friends.
That sucks, Brian.
But yeah, because I'm a free speech absolutist, and evidently that's like a bad thing.
Well, let me ask you this, Brian.
Yeah, when did free speech become the worst thing in the history? By the way,
I know.
I mean, I know when, obviously, but
Marcus.
Yeah.
Sorry. That was their choice. That right? Not your choice.
What was that?
I said to not be friends. That was their choice, not your choice.
Yes. And it's just like, because you're an alt-right Yahtzee because you believe in freedom, because you hold the First Amendment sacrosanct, and also you're anti-censorship, right? These used to be ideals that were upheld by the left. Right?
I had
to be liberal ideals, yeah.
And now they're just like, nah, we're over.
I had a 5-year D&D campaign with a group of people. We never missed it. We played every Friday night. My wife made chili. We sat at my table. We laughed. We joked. We actually went on group vacations.
Yeah.
But I told them I wasn't going to get the vax, and that was it. They were done with me. And what gets me the most mad is we were like 2 sessions away from finishing a 5-year campaign that expanded dimensions. It crossed over superheroes and fantasy characters. It all together. I was so proud of this story. And it'll take me 20 years to tell this in the comic book, so I just can't do it.
It's terrible. Sorry, John.
Yes, seriously, man. And look, people can suck like that. And I've gotten in trouble. I've had people that got mad at me because I said your enemy, your neighbor is not your enemy. Just for saying that, your neighbor is not your enemy. Oh hell no!
Carano,
oh hell no!
You must live in New York, Brian.
Yeah, I do, actually.
Oh, you do?
This, by the way, if you haven't seen it, the Atlantean, This is Russ Leach doing a Cull series.
Cull, right, yeah.
Cull, just so you all know, is cooler than Conan.
Yeah, I got those.
I said it. And Conan's badass. Don't get me wrong. I love me some Conan. But Cull has always been more interesting to me because he's introspective.
He's such a good artist. He's a cool guy. He's been on my channel.
Cull is the ancestor of Conan, or is the predecessor of Conan.
That's right.
So old Dirty Fatty gets
does a nice job.
Upset every time I tell a story about my campaign, but at the same time, he wants Brian to shut his whore mouth.
I read Batman Prodigal. I have no comment on it.
Yeah, so I think he's running a campaign now for the second volume.
Randy Zim is writing that. They just closed it out today.
That's right. Oh, did they?
So it's no longer available.
I'm pretty sure I backed it. I hope I'm not. That's the thing that gets me sometimes is sometimes I think I've backed something and I haven't.
Yeah, I've done that so many times. Oh my god!
Oh,
like, where's my book?
I have a guy.
Where's your order? Where's your money?
You know, I have a guy on my channel. I bring up their campaign, so I think that I backed it, and then I never did.
I try to keep a list, but that doesn't help that much.
No, I wait till they hit FMC. If they don't hit FMC, I don't back them.
Oh, dude, the worst is Indiegogo, and when you hit the updates, right? Because then you think that you backed it, and that's why you're getting updates. But if you just
that's true. Yeah.
Oh, that
I want to ask Petey did. What year are we talking about? Because the problem with the Legion of Superheroes is they repeated the stories every time they rebooted it. So is this the original Brett Breeding?
That has to be, if it's Jurgens and Breeding, it's got to be the late 80s, right?
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Unless they're doing a miniseries that I don't know about. I know Dan.
That's what I'm thinking. Is this new? Because I know that
they're DC right now.
But these, did you guys know? I'm not sure if you guys know. Do you guys know what the Levitz paradigm is?
No.
It's a thing. It's that's a comic writing thing. I think this was like Paul Levitz when he was doing Legion of Superheroes.
Legion, yeah.
He had a diagram. This is actually in Denny O'Neil's book about the DC.
Oh, the writing book, yeah.
And he actually goes into it, and it was a system he had for basically, writing a comic book like a soap opera, and to juggle all of these different plots and subplots, and when to end one of the subplots and then pick up with another one, right? Like you have to look it up. It's called the Levitz paradigm. It's not something that I think I'll ever find useful, but it's interesting. If you're
something
a comic book writer, you should definitely check it out.
It's something you could do in a monthly comic,
Yeah.
I think there's another danger too, that we want to get the books out like not late but too fast. So, like John, like if you want to get the book, you say, "Oh, people have to wait 3 months or 6 months." With the cost of these books, making them wait's not a bad thing. I mean, if they're on time, not a bad thing. Putting them out at $20, even $10 every month is a lot for people to keep backing.
It is.
So a little breathing room between issues isn't awful.
No, I agree.
There has to be like that fine line, because I don't want people to forget like some of the Easter eggs and things that I'm dropping in.
I understand that. And your type of book doesn't want to wait a year because it's more of a floppy than an epic graphic novel. That being said,
you can't afford a $20 book.
Right. That's right. That's what I'm saying. Like, although if it was just one book and you were following one creator and you weren't backing anybody else, I suppose you could do it, right?
I don't know. And I'm a crazy person. If I back a book you got to include the shipping in the price. You got to, it's because he's spending the money. If I'm paying $25 all included for everything, and it's part 1 of 16.
I don't know what to do about shipping. That's really out of everybody's hands.
Yeah, but I'm saying you got to be realistic, include it. So if I'm paying $25 and I'm getting a book that's part 1 of 16, and then it comes out.
No, if it's every month, I think you'd have to. The shipping have to be.
It just kills everything. So that's why I'm trying to do it. It's a complete story. Yeah.
Right.
Done in one.
But that's because you're an older creator, like older in age. The younger creators, say 10 years younger than us or 15 years younger than us, Although I don't know how young Brian is. He looks like a young man to me. But I might be the oldest on the panel, so well, I think we want to do in the older, even the bigger creators, they will kind of do finite stories with little plots to go forward to the next issue. But the younger ones, they have all the cliffhangers. They have the journeys that end in like, oh my God, I got to wait a year, because you got to wait the year because it's a 60-page comic.
Exactly.
You know, and you're like, oh, you got to remind me what's going on.
Oh, dude. When I have people ask me for advice about like people that are new, right? And they, you know, and that's one of the things I always used to love about the scene is you had people that were about giving back, right? And you had people that were about like welcoming the newcomers with open arms, right? Or helping some of the older creators, right? That it's like they don't know from Indiegogo, right? And Kickstarter and all that crap, you know, and people helping them out. But whatchamacallit? What the hell was my point? I think I've been smoking too much weed lately, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, no weed.
Yeah, any weed's too much weed.
Cooper, I want to ask you then.
Actually, you know what? I can tell that I'm fatigued. I think I've been online too long. I don't know how people do like 7-hour, 9-hour streams. After like 2 hours, I'm like, just watching it.
Well, with the drawing stream, we do like 3 or 4, but we're drawing for some of it, so the time goes quick.
I've been staying up way too late voting.
Oh, I do that too.
I want to ask Cooper a question though. What do you have any launch date for your comic? Any times you want to share?
No, it's still open. But I'm closing in on less than 10 pages to the end.
Oh, cool.
And
well, that's good. Good job.
But you know, I just got like another page in today. But yeah, we're just closing in on it. It's the first issue, and I just so many people dropped the ball on the first issue, and mine's such a complicated world. And launching that world is such a bitch, you know, of a
that's what
you know,
my world is overly complicated.
And so
that's why
basically it's
my comic didn't have a world.
That's interesting. Oh,
yeah,
now I remember what I was thinking.
Well, it did, but
it
wasn't complicated.
I know Brian's going to talk for 20 minutes. Tony Griego says, so I take it you're not a fan of Alan Moore's Lost Girls. I have it. I still haven't read it yet. I know people say it's basically porn. And again, guys, I'm not a prude. You know, I'm not a prude, but there has to be something more than star whores or boobs.
Yes. Oh, please.
You know what I mean?
They offered me work. I didn't take that work.
Yes. The shit's lame.
There's a comic book on Kickstarter by Cheeky Press Comics, and it's going to drive me nuts to the kid. But the premise is this couple's marriage is on the rocks, so they're going to spice it up. So they go to a strip club, and she is realizing that she's kind of interested in girls, and he's realizing that he's interested in a hot stripper. And it's boobs, but there's a story to it. You know, I like it. It's a well-written, and it's really sad, but it's real. There's nothing wrong with a sad story. I also loved Omaha the Cat Dancer.
Well,
you know, it was a well-written porno comic.
Yeah. So, absolutely. No,
so
you
can't say that. I don't know if I'm a fan of Lost Girls yet because I didn't read it yet. I haven't
read it myself.
But I don't want people to think like, oh, John's I got an idea for a horror comic that's going to be like really gross and vampires are scary and like kind of like sexually explicit, but I'm going to let people know that before they buy it because you know what I mean. But Heroic Tales is supposed to be 80s. If you didn't see it in the 80s, you're not going to see it in my comic. And people, the 80s were kind of more raunchier than you give credit for. We're forgetting.
Oh my God, yes they were. Yes,
but you know what I mean. So I don't know. I'm probably over explaining because I'm tired. But does that answer your question?
They said you were saying we created a comic, The Amazing Adventures of Captain Courage, for one story, and then we decided it was much like you decided the Patriarch. We're going to run with this because people seem to like it.
Right.
And when I say by not a world, is we hadn't figured it out. It was like the Star Trek. They're in space. We're going to figure out what within 10 pages, what planet they're going to visit, what adventure they're going to have. eventually it was all going to come out. We had other conceptions that were world building, like alternate New Earth and alternate Earth and all sorts of things like that. But that first idea was really kind of simple. It was going to be galactic. They're going to get into that later.
Okay.
So that's what
Logic always has interesting questions. I appreciate his question. Serious question. Boom. Self-contained stories or 3 to 4 issue story arc for independent comics. Which one's better? Well, everybody's going to have their own opinion. If you can deliver every 3 to 4 months, by all means do a story arc.
Right.
If you can only deliver once every 5 years, I don't care. And do a self-contained story. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't legitimately know how often I can make a comic yet. I'm still trying to figure that out. So I'm choosing to do self-contained stories. That's just what I choose. Vaughn is able to put out a comic. Vaughn Coleman is able to put out a comic faster than me, and he's doing a multi-arc story.
Yes,
but they're both good,
Right. And here's the thing. That reminds me of what I brain farted about before, which is that when people would ask me for advice, I'd be like, if you're new, do not make your first comic a 10-issue epic.
Absolutely,
don't do that. That's what I did. Don't do what I did. Right. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about not only learning from people's successes, but also learning from our blunders.
Absolutely, but don't count their money. That's gay. John, you have to win a lot of
yes, it is.
Something so you can stream there. I would love to. If this was my job, I would be the happiest guy in the world. And I will just say, there's a super chat button, and you can buy multiple copies of my comic to make your dream come true. Coop, you got to go. Do you want to say anything? I just saw a message that you said you had to go. Anything you want to say?
Oh no, just
I can see the sleep.
Yeah, just check out FMC. We got a lot of good stuff over there that's just starting out.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So
one of my comic people,
check out
everybody
FMC. There's a lot of awesome stuff that's just hit, and yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Lost Girls 8 points. That's good.
Important.
I don't want to read.
Got some cool updates that are coming.
Cool. Chris Owley says Lost Girls 8 point. That's good because I don't want to just.
Anyway.
Maybe in my 30s, a porn comic book would have been right up my alley. But when you're 57 years old,
Yeah.
What Kickstarter simp bait titty books ain't your jam?
Well said, Tank. Well said.
Yeah. Give me a little bit of creativity. Like this
comic.
Guys. Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Good to see you, man.
You're always welcome to come in, Coop. You're always invited.
Peace out, Coop.
Like I just said, I talked about this comic basically set in a strip club about a horrible couple that's cheating on each other, but it's well written. It's a story. It's original characters. The art is nice. I just don't want to get Scooby-Doo, but they bang. Come on, at least come up with an original character.
Exactly.
The Europeans tend to get it right. Kickstarters, yeah.
Well, they do. They're used to albums once a year, once every 2 years from the big creators, and they do everything on it, and they pour their heart into it. But that's how they do their books.
French comics are the shit, and I wish Americans would discover French comics the way that they've discovered Japanese comics.
Like Japanese comics, yeah.
What's the name of that? Milo Manara. He does a lot of graphic nude.
Love him. He's a
phenomenal artist.
Some of it's porn.
Stories.
Some of the Milo Manara stuff's porn.
Some of it is. Some of it. I would definitely agree with that. At the same time, artists shouldn't necessarily feel like they can't do something that's sexually explicit.
No. I remember Liberator.
There's a reason for it, right? Like most writers, there are certain scenes I'm terrified of having to write, and I'm terrified of having to write a sex scene. Right? Like I really don't want to do that.
Let me ask you a question, Brian. Who's fucking the gorilla?
Oh, he ain't getting none. That's why he's got to go to Africa. That's why he becomes a. Well, I'm not going to go into the next part and all that shit. But yeah. Fuck was I saying? Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to tap out soon. I'm brain farting left and right, but
Ace has their own version of Based. The Hellboy method starts story. Yeah, that's what I would like to do. Short story arc. Like I'm leading to a conclusion in Heroic Tales 10, but each issue can be enjoyed by themselves.
Right.
Me too. It is Band-Aids Dessinays are. Oh, that's the name of the French comics. I'm getting tired too. I didn't recognize that. You know what?
Yes, French comics are fucking dope.
It's 1 minute to 11. So everybody, give us your outros for the next minute. We'll call it a night. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
Go ahead, Brian.
Okay, everybody. First, go to fundmycomic.com and back Heroic Tales and Heroic Tales 2. This is a genuinely good comic. I wouldn't, John, if I didn't enjoy the heck out of this, I just wouldn't have talked about it at all. Right? I'm honest that way.
That's the way I am.
Shades of Kurt Busiek's Astro City.
Right.
That's what it gave me, that feel. And although Busiek is a little bit of an a-hole, a bit of a wang, an incredible writer. And yeah, no, I really, really thoroughly enjoyed this, everybody. And it is definitely worth your time. And while you're there, pick up Six Gun Gorilla, Volume 2, The Great Silence. And there's tiers there for everybody. If you're a newbie or if you're coming back, if you're in the trade paperbacks. I just put a bunch of original art up there, actually, as a matter of fact, by my boy Preston Acevedo. And man, when I get pencils from him, they're so beautiful. It's like I don't want to see them colored, right? But
what did you say? He doesn't want to see any coloreds. This is 2025.
But yeah, there's original. Fuck you, John. There's original art up there. There's original art. Oh God. Oh, dude.
You know you're getting snipped on Student of God for tomorrow.
But yeah, there's original art up there. I'm selling motherfucker. I'm selling figurines. Just hop on there. And like I said, there's something for everybody. If you're a trade paperback guy like me, I got you covered. If you're a floppies person, I got you covered. Either way. And there's going to be like I said, a bonus story because Six Gun Gorilla will return. But when he does, it's going to be part of an ensemble. And I'm introducing like the first character from the ensemble. It's going to be like a Magnificent Seven of the Weird West. But anyway, everybody, enough of my yapping. John, thank you so much for having me on, brother. I really do appreciate that. And I want you to know that people in this community really appreciate you and what you're doing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. See,
and you're a damn good writer.
You tell me to go fuck myself. I'm like, yeah, right. You tell me I'm a good writer. I'm a nice guy. But I can it be both. We have 69 people watching right now, so that's a good number to drop off of, especially when we're talking about boobs.
Peace and love, everybody. Peace and love.
Thanks a lot, everybody. Tomorrow, Saturdays, I don't usually stream unless people invite me on their channel. Saturdays, usually my wife and I do something. Sunday, I will be back for Sunday Comics at 10 a.m. I'm going to continue with the Project Pegasus.
I love the Project Pegasus. Yeah, good.
It's just a good time. I highly recommend Six Gun Gorilla. I'm hoping that if Eddie is Doomed does well, I'm going to be hiring Marcus to do a story.
I like Eddie is Doomed. That's great.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Support every comics, people. With
I need to get double what I back right now, so I can do Heroic Tales 3. Yeah. So get on it, everybody. It's on you.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't make a lot of money from these books. Usually what we make goes into the next one.
I'm on the studio. If you don't watch the studio, Don Draws will get very upset. So watch the studio. I think we have Nick Gerber on. He does another superhero world. I don't know him, but the other guys seem to know him really well.
Shogun Warriors.
Yeah. And we'll draw his characters. And if you really want to promote a book on that channel, I try to get you on, John. I'll try again. I think you have a new book you should go on, whether you were on last week. I didn't agree with that at all. But, Brian, you should go on when we'll draw Six Gun Gorilla. It's kind of fun to do it that way. Instead of just, I'm going to draw Lady Death. But why does Brian Polito doesn't need our promotion?
Right.
So not to pick on him. So I'll be on tomorrow if you want to watch me draw and bust everybody's chops worse than I did here at 7 o'clock. And we go about 3 hours.
When is this going down?
Reminding
Don Draw's channel.
Okay.
The studio.
Gotcha.
It's called.
I want to thank Garfield's Bizarre Remind for
see if I can put
giving
the,
memberships.
Yeah, we can drop a link.
Memberships. And if anybody has ideas of what I could do, honestly, I don't know what to do with memberships. Like I did it when I first started and I had like 2 people and I never really developed it. So I'm actively asking you guys, what would you want? I'll I tried to make it give the customer what they want, but I honestly am drawing a blank. So thanks a lot, everybody. I'll see you. I'll see you Sundays next time I'll be live. Bye-bye.
Peace and love and metal.
Yeah, I'm getting sleepy and I can't think of words anymore.
I know.
Right,
words are hard. Guys. Words are hard.
Thank you.
There's Don Jaws. Thanks a lot, everybody.